Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. You've just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I am your host, Mr. Rob G, and we'll be broadcasting to you on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, KPNL, and Odyssey Radio. Remember, you can access our archives for free at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. And while you're there, please consider hitting that subscribe button if you don't mind. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at spacedoutradio and at spacedoutradioshow. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the SOR Newswire, get some official Spaced Out swag, plus rock out to some Bumblefoot, and so much more. Yes, it is Saturday. We are back online here at the After Hours. We're going to have an awesome show for you tonight. We have all the way from Queensland, Australia, Mary Rodwell, the accomplished researcher, author, and we're going to be getting into some deep stuff. She's really into the awakening, and you know that's what I'm about, and kind of progressing humanity and trying to get us to move forward. So we will be taking another step tonight to go ahead and enlighten the people out there and try to get everybody, move this needle and get everybody on that same page. Because it's here, it's real, and we need to get together and talk about it and figure out the best way forward. So can't wait to get into that tonight. Also, we'll be doing the SOR Weekly Review as always. Let me go ahead and welcome in our chat group, our SORians, our SOR family. Let's see who's in here. I got the email from Race Fan. Race Fan is never wrong. And so getting the gold tonight is Race Fan, saying, good evening, Rob. Hey, what's going on, Race Fan? So glad to have you here, and I do appreciate the heads up on that. I got Jimmy Gonzalez saying, hello, everyone. He gets the silver. And then we have Eternity Eternal saying, hi, Rob and SOR fans, getting the bronze. Okay, we do also have Lightwalkers joining us on this fantastic Saturday evening. It's going to be awesome, Lightwalkers. Good evening, Rob and Woo friends. We do appreciate you coming on in, Lightwalkers. Should be an awesome show. Can't wait to get into the conversation. Let's see, we have Dragonfly saying, good evening, Rob and SOR chat. Good evening, Dragonfly. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Definitely. We got JSCO77 saying hi, folks. Hey, JSCO77. Thank you for coming on in. And we have Roger Murray, February 12th, 1941. My mother Catherine's 83rd birthday. Happy, can I get a sound effect? Can I get a sound effect? Yes. Happy birthday. Happy early birthday, Mother Catherine. Young 83, and we do appreciate you. Thank you for the information, Roger Murray, and thank you for coming on in. We do appreciate you. Let's see. We have Kurt M. Kurt M saying hi all. Hello, Kurt M. Thank you for coming on in. We appreciate you showing up tonight. We have T-Bone in the building. T-Bone with the prayer hands and MRG, Mr. Rob G. Hey, with the wavy hand, SOR After Hours Friends. Definitely. Thanks for coming in, T-Bone. We do appreciate you coming in tonight. We have Van Gold. Van Gold, good evening, SOR fam. Appreciate you coming on in, Van Gold. Thank you for showing up. We do appreciate you. We have Road Flare saying hi, guys. Hi, Road Flare. Thank you for coming on in. Flat 6. Ready for a little woo. Okay, we're going to get that for you tonight. Flat 6. And we're going to move the needle. Once again, every conversation should be about that. Should be one more step towards, figuring this thing out. Not just talking, but really trying to get down to the bottom of this, figure it out as a group and get to where we're going. And there's going to be some woo in there for sure. You already know. So thank you, Flat 6, for coming on in. Do appreciate you. Let's see. We have Stargazer. Stargazer, thanks for coming on in with a train of emojis here. The choo-choo train. So we're conducting the SOR Woo train. Computer screens. Oh, crystal globe, alien head, and the spaceship emoji. Thank you for coming on in. Lars Jansen, good morning all. Horns, good evening, or good morning, Lars Jansen. Thank you for coming in. Let's see. We do have a Paranormal Pixie Laura sighting saying hi, everyone. Hi, Paranormal Pixie Laura. Thank you for coming on in. Appreciate you. We have Ginger Turtle 43. Happy Saturday. I hope everyone is doing well. Happy Saturday right back at you, Ginger Turtle 43. We hope you're doing well also. So, yeah, we're definitely going to get into some good stuff tonight. Should be an awesome show. Should be another awesome show, I should say. Let's see. Who else do we have out here? Looking out in the crowd. Okay, we do have Ange. Hey, ya SOR family. Hey, Ange. Thank you for coming on in. Thank you for showing up. We have Mary R. saying, hey, Gold. Thank you for coming on in, Mary R. We do appreciate you. Let's see. We're going to go down the list here. Wildberry Candy Co. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Wildberry Candy Co. Thanks for joining us on this Saturday night at the after hours. It is going to go down tonight. Let's see. Okay, I do see Brown Dwarf. Good evening. Listening on the road, BRB. All right, drive safe. Brown Dwarf, we're going to get into that talk. So it'd be definitely a good listening experience for sure. We have Lakeside Laura saying, love Mary Rodwell. That is awesome, Lakeside Laura. And I'm sure by the end of this conversation, everyone else is going to share that sentiment. And because, we'll get into it. Let's see. Who else do we have? Okay. Aloha Dave 13. Buenas noches a todos de Mexico. Good evening, everyone from Mexico. Thank you for coming on in. Aloha Dave. We do appreciate you. Okay. Going down the list. We have Leanna Anderson. Greetings, Earthlings. All right. Okay. We are all one, and I like that. I like that idea, Leanna Anderson. Thank you for coming on in. True statement. True statement. Can't say anything else. Thank you. Okay. We have Echo Whispers. Hi, everyone. Tress. Is Tress in the building? I didn't see Tress, but hey, Echo Whispers. Thank you for coming on in. And let's see. We have Super Knower. Hello, friends. Hello, Super Knower. Thank you for showing up tonight and joining this conversation. Okay, let me bring Lakeside Laura back up here. Lakeside Laura saying, good evening, newbie here. All right, great. So, like to always stop for our new viewers and kind of welcome you to Spaced Out Radio. This is after hours. We do this Saturday and Sundays, beginning at 8 p.m. East or Pacific time rather, and we run until 11 p.m. Pacific time. So Saturday and Sunday, and then you have Mr. Dave Scott, the conductor of the Woo Train during the week, Monday through Friday, beginning at 9 p.m. Pacific time, running until midnight Pacific. 7 days a week, we definitely have something going on here, Lakeside Laura. So we do appreciate you coming on in. And yeah, bring a friend and, come join the conversation. It's always awesome here. And we want to welcome you and thank you for coming in. Let's see. Who else do we have? We have Doug Coyle saying, let's go. Okay, Doug Coyle, we will go. We will definitely go tonight. We're going to make it happen just for you. So thank you for coming on in. We appreciate you. Let's see. Okay. Looking in here, what do we have? Okay, we're getting down the list. We are getting down the list. Okay. Oh, Susan Alloway. Susan Alloway saying hello, everyone. Hello, Susan Alloway. Thank you for coming on in. We do appreciate you showing up and joining us tonight. Doug Shelby. Saturday night is so freaking sweet. Hey, y'all. How's everybody's weekend going? All right, Doug Shelby. Thanks for coming on in. My weekend so far so good. We got the Super Bowl tomorrow. And so I'll actually say this. We have an awesome show set up tomorrow, right? So it won't be live, right? I put something together, but it's going to be a little something different. So it won't be an SOR archive. It will be actually a look into what it is that I do over on my channel at The Social Dig, because we have some really deep conversations that happen over there. And I kind of formulated something a little special for tomorrow. So it will still be open live chat during the show. So definitely make sure that you guys show up and mingle with each other. But I put something special together, and I just really hope it ends up being received and appreciated. Because if you love what we do here on the After Hours, and I really think that you will like very much what we do at The Social Dig, for sure. All right. Let's see. Who else do we have? Okay, Slow Motion saying, Van the Man. Thank you for coming in, Slow Motion. We do appreciate you. And let's see. Who else do we have here? Okay, we're getting down the list. We do have Christine saying, hi, Robbie G. I like your headband tonight. Always good to see you. Yeah, I appreciate you. Yeah, had to break out the stops for our guests tonight, man. Like I said, guests that are about enlightenment, it's my thing, right? It's my jam, right? So I think we'll have a great time tonight, Christine. Thanks for coming on in. All right. Ms. Catherine Jones has stepped in the building saying, hey, Mr. Rob G. Hey, Ms. Catherine. Thank you for showing up. We do appreciate you coming on in. I hope this ends up being a great show for you. You can always let us know in the comment section or by hitting that like button if you don't mind. Let's see. We got Mike Rivers saying, hey, it's the SOR show. Yes, Mike Rivers, it's going down tonight. Like I said, I hope you definitely enjoy the show. Thanks for coming on in. Let's see. Getting down this list, Rafin. Okay, Rafin. Hello, Rob, in chat room. Hello, Rafin. Thank you so much for coming on in and joining us. Let's see. What else do we have? Okay, we got super chat coming in from Aloha Dave. We do appreciate your awesome support of Spaced Out Radio, Aloha Dave, and we just appreciate you. I just want you to know that, and definitely appreciate the support for sure. Let's see, what else do we have here? I think we're getting close to the bottom of the list. We have. Okay, I'm looking, and I think we are getting to the end here. Okay, we got all you guys. Okay, here we go. We got the Ferret stepping in, saying hi, SOR chat friends. Hello, the Ferret. Thank you for joining us tonight. Should be an awesome show. Okay, and I think we are down. Yeah, we are. We're down to the bottom of the list. Here we go. Okay. So, welcome to Saturday night after hours. It's going to be an awesome weekend here. Definitely, hope that you guys have a great time tonight. And I hope you enjoy the show tomorrow that we have set up. It should be pretty awesome. Definitely different. Some of you have come over to the Social Dig. So some of you already know, how, the type of conversations that we have. And we're going to bring that to some of you who have not had the chance to kind of delve into that. And the topic is great. It's aliens and UFOs. Why are they here? Why are they here, right? So we get into some deep conversation and try to sort that out. And I think you guys will enjoy it, or at least I hope you do. Okay, so with that being said, we will go ahead and jump in to the SOR time machine like we do every Saturday. Go back in time and check out the week that was Spaced Out Radio. A lot of great guests once again this week, and yeah, we're going to go ahead and jump into that. So let's go ahead and take a look, and we will be right back.
We know you believe in Bigfoot. We know you believe in Dogman and a number of these creatures. Dinosaurs, though, for the most part, we're all sitting here like, Jason, what are you talking about? There's no pterodactyls. There's no T-Rexes. There's no Triceratops. You can't be like the Flintstones and order a Brontosaurus burger at the local burger joint.
Yep.
What are you on here? I mean, I'm sure you get that.
Oh, all the time. And I would say that my view on Bigfoot, Dogman, that's a lot more nuanced than just a yes or no. But yeah, and again, those are more culturally acceptable, right? Because in a lot of ways, they don't really cause the same degree of conflict with the worldview that the modern world wants us to have. And it's not just the modern world. It is very specifically there is a worldview that our governments want to put out. That's what's in all the textbooks. It's what's allowed to be discussed, right? It's sort of the official narrative. Living dinosaurs throws a huge monkey wrench into that worldview. And you're right. The number one reason, though, that we say, oh, that can't be, is because they supposedly died out 65 million years ago. Well, if they're hanging out largely unchanged, maybe that 65 million years ain't as 65 million years as we think. We may be dealing with a shorter timetable. And that throws a lot of things into question that we were told, no, this is how reality is. This is what the world is. This is your place in it. It throws all of that out the window. And so what we do is we take all these accounts throughout history of people running across creatures that they called dragons and said, oh, well, that's all mythology. Okay, well, so was the panda. The panda was was mythology. The gorilla was mythology, according to the scientists of the day, right? People have seen these creatures for centuries, and they have informed our very recently. We said, no, not anymore. No more of this. This is forbidden. No more contact with this stuff. And when someone sees it, you get called crazy.
With everything that's going on, what do you think the U.S. government is trying to cover up when it comes to extraterrestrials, UFOs, or what's being hidden out of places like Area 51?
Well, I think what they're trying to cover up now is their culpability, is their past history with this, and to the degree that the lies about it over the years are going to be legal issues, and so I think now they're covering their what. There you go, Dave. I'm trying to keep it clean for you, really. Okay, so they're covering their what, and I think that's what they're doing now. Originally, whatever the decision process was, maybe in the 40s, to that this was a matter of national security, or use that at least as a justification that they can't release it to the public till they know more about it. But now it's become its own industry. We've heard the term breakaway civilization, and that it's like I said, it's a whole industry. It's the military-industrial complex. It's the making of trillions of dollars off the subject, and continued repression of that because it's unchecked. Unchecked power and unchecked expenditure out of control, and so that's where you're going to expect pushback, because no one wants anyone digging too deep on that. No one wants to get rid of the goose that laid the golden egg.
Now, right before the break, you had a little smirk on your face. I want to know what that smirk was about.
Well, you have to remind me what the question was.
Well, we were talking about the science behind it, the government about it, a little bit about everything, and then all of a sudden you kind of perked up and you're like,
Yeah, there was something specific that you said that I just don't recall exactly what it was now. But I think you were talking about the military component of it, but I honestly just don't remember what it was that you were getting at. But you were right. There was something that you said that was like, yeah, that's.
Oh, well,
something that we should discuss. Okay.
Let's move on. We'll figure out that smirk later when all of a sudden the brain fog kind of kicks in. But going back to what this is all about, I mean, we have so many people who are having experiences. What do you think? What do you think a UFO is or a UAP is?
Wow. I think it might be a lot of things. Sort of the topic of our discussion here tonight, or what led me here this evening, was the article that I wrote in Roswell Daily Record about veterans deserving the truth. And one of the components of that article was, John Burroughs' experience in Rendlesham Forest, and exposure to UAP and the physical effects he had later on. And, 20 years or whatever it was later, the government admitting that his physical ailments were a result of his exposure to UAP, and then them granting him VA benefits, right? So it's interesting because obviously he was exposed to a UAP. Was that a non-human intelligence technology, a technology of unknown origin, or was it a black tech technology? Ours, British, Soviet at that time, 1980. Certainly probably wasn't Chinese. I mean, they hadn't really developed much at that time. At that point in time, I mean, they obviously had nuclear weapons and things, but they they were nowhere near the sophisticated technological country that they are today, 30 years ago. So it was likely, if it was human technology, then it was either ours or the Russians. And so it does bring up an interesting question of, what is UAP? It's a very open question as to what it is. Historically, it's a non-human technology. What is it today? It's probably a combination of the two.
So what's a familiar?
I am a big word nerd, so whenever I'm trying to know what something is, I like to look into the word and what the word means. And of course, familiar is related to the word family. And its etymology comes from something that is, part of our family. But also, to me, that means we have an exchange or a relationship with it. I feel like a lot of the history of familiars, animals, I feel like, are our family, and certainly we live with a lot of them domestically, right? Anything that's domestic is going to be something that lives in our house or that is around us. It also is related to things that habituate, right? Like an habituation, where we're going to do something periodically or repetitively. So a lot of the things involved with familiars and familiar spirits is that you have a relationship with them that is habituated. So it's something that usually doesn't only happen once. So if you think about like how someone might have an imaginary friend, right? That they talk to all the time, or something that they're having an exchange with. So I think the thing that would set familiars apart from other types of encounters that people have is that you're having a relationship with this thing that extends over time.
What's the most haunted place you've ever investigated?
Well, in Texas, or you mean overall or just in Texas?
In Texas. Let's stay in Texas tonight.
Okay. In Texas, definitely the Alamo is very haunted. But probably the most haunted place is an abandoned hospital called Yorktown. It is falling in. It was at one time, of course, like all hospitals usually end up being, it was a rehab center. It was a Catholic nun church. So, I mean, if y'all are wanting to go someplace in Texas, besides Goatman's Bridge with me, check out Yorktown. I'm talking full-bodied apparitions, things physically moving like chairs. And can I tell them to go to my YouTube channel to watch a video on this?
That's allowed.
Okay. So you guys go to Becky Vickers on YouTube and watch the doll video. Dave, we had this doll that didn't have batteries in it, and we were filming, showing the back of this doll open that doesn't have batteries, and it is laughing when we were saying like, can you laugh? And it goes hee 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 hee, and then we'll say, where's Daddy? And it would say Mama, and then it would say Daddy. I mean, it is the most amazing freaking thing. There's no batteries. It's not. You can tell it's an old doll. But this thing is 100% intelligently talking back and forth with us. And it's just unbelievable. I'm still can't get over it. And that happened years ago.
Oh my. That would scare the daylights out of me.
All right, everybody. That was the SOR Week in Review. So awesome week once again. A lot of great shows. If you missed any of those, you can catch those in our archive at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. Definitely make sure you go ahead and jump back in and check out some of those awesome episodes. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and get in with our guest tonight. Our guest is the founder of the Australian Close Encounter Resource Network. Okay. She is an author. She is an international speaker. She is a researcher who has researched over 3,500 cases, guys. And the titles of her books, and we'll get into those, but I just want to point out that they both use the word awakening. You know, we talked a lot about that here on this channel, and especially here on this After Hours. So it's going to be great to go ahead and get into speaking with our guest for the evening, none other than all the way from Queensland, Australia. We have Mary Rodwell. Hi, how are you, Mary?
I'm good, Rob. Lovely to meet you.
Yes, I'm so glad to meet you for sure. I've looked into you and I already know we're going to resonate because I love what you speak about. We're going to go ahead and get deep tonight. And what I want to do first is I really want to like appreciate and applaud you for being proactive and kind of getting out there and really trying to do something to move the needle, and spread awareness on what it is that we're going through. Very important for someone to actually be proactive with it. So I'm appreciating that. And also, I just want to say this is for skeptics and non skeptics, right? There's a path to enlightenment, period, that we all have to walk. So it's great to have both sides of the conversation, both perspectives, and regardless of how that conversation ends, there's a path that we both have to walk together. And this conversation tonight should be another step towards getting to that point. So I just wanted to get that out there. And with that being said, Mary, just so glad to have you here. And you were actually there's a viewer by the name of Maggie M10. I don't know if she's here tonight, but she was so ecstatic to know that you were coming on the show. So I'm hoping that she actually tuned in for it. But I know she'll catch it on the replay if anything. The way I wanted to start this out is just like with any guest that I speak to for the first time. I would like to get to know you as Mary and kind of how you came up, what led you to doing the things that you're doing today, maybe even some early on experiences or kind of what got you into this.
Well, I'll give you a précis of it, Rob. I mean, my background was nursing. I was a registered nurse and also a registered midwife when I was still in the UK. But I got drawn into counselling through a medical practice once I had my children. I came to Australia, and when I came to Australia, I got into grief and bereavement, hospice. And what I would say is I feel like there's been a soul program, if you like, for Mary to look at to lead me to the point where I've got to now. One of the things, even as a child, though, and I'm sure, and I suspect it's the same with you, Rob, you questioned. You wanted to know things. You wanted to know the truth of things. And you're probably like me, very interested. If it was weird and wonderful, you were interested in it. Anything that was out of the box. And I suspect you're the same. And so even though I've been brought up in a religion that didn't allow for some of that, I wanted to know, why reincarnation wasn't accepted in this particular religion, for example, but people were talking about past lives. And it was very credible to me that, that because they could often substantiate, these past lives and what have you, and show validity to them. So I've always been on a journey of, if you like, seeking information, seeking the truth, and realizing how much we're not told the truth, or we're given edited versions of the truth. And the more that you go into your awakening, you find more and more about what you've been taught is absolute rubbish, and that there's a whole new reality with that. So if you like, having my profession, having kids, going into grief and bereavement, and the interesting thing with working with people who are dying is they want to know the truth too. They want to know what's going to happen when they die. So I started to look at everything to do with near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, reincarnation, all those kind of things intrigued me. And they intrigued me enough for me to learn hypnosis. And I had a couple of experiences where I went back to past lives, and trying to be very objective, I was amazed at things that I came up with that I didn't know anything about in my past lives, and finding them validated. So I got very intrigued with that. Doing hypnosis, I also learned how to open up multidimensionally. And you know what I mean by that. Not just looking at your intuition, your knowing, your sensing, your feelings, all those things you can't quantify in 3D terms, such as people can find themselves seeing spirits or having communication with what could be spirits, non-human intelligences, light beings, angels, fairies. It doesn't really matter, but showing there's another reality from the one that psychology is still denying and psychiatry is still denying, which is anything beyond your five senses isn't valid. Well, I can absolutely say from an experiential point of view, I believe it's absolutely valid. And I think we all have experiences. I don't care whether you're a skeptic or not. There'll be things that you've experienced that you can't explain in three-dimensional terms. So that's what I'm going to say to the skeptics. And I will still say that because I believe it's true. We're all multidimensional and we all have experiences like that. We may say, oh, it's coincidence, or maybe I was, I had too many beers or something. We can blame it on something else perhaps. But ultimately, we all experience things we can't say in third dimensional terms how they've happened or how we've experienced them. Seeing, future events, precognition, all that stuff. So to give you a long, basically I was opening up myself, call it awakening, call it whatever name you want, to realizing that not only myself, but I believe everyone has this ability. Every single person has. They may not realize it, or maybe not want to realize it, or never want to explore it because they're too scared, or they think something terrible is going to happen if they do. But ultimately, we all have the propensity and the ability to open up and sense things, feel things, know things. And, some will very much sense presences, have information in their head they haven't consciously learned, all this kind of thing. So where did that take me to where I am now? That's when I was still exploring much of this. And I read two books. One was by Dr. John Mack, the Harvard professor of psychiatry at Harvard University, who wrote the book Abduction, Human Encounters with Aliens. So here's a professor who, in fact, ended up writing two books on, he believed people who had extraterrestrial encounters, it was real. He had no doubts in the end. It was not a psychosis, and he did all the psychological testing. You had Communion with Whitley Strieber was another book that I read, fascinated by it. The only thing for me was I thought it was very rare. And I never thought in a million years I'd come across someone who said, well, I have those experiences. And that actually happened. Within a few weeks of me reading those books, how's that for synchronicity? Somebody came to me, said, I've heard you're open-minded. For this, there's no support groups. For this, they just think you're loony. And continued to say, I have shaved areas on my legs. I go up on spacecraft. My partner has experiences. The children have experiences. The relatives won't come to the house because they think it's demons. And so very isolated. And can you help? Well, as it turned out, I didn't know initially how I could help other than listen to this story. And from that, lots of other things came up. What was fascinating to me, within a fortnight of that, another person came through the door with similar experiences. So all of a sudden it's, is this really rare? Or is this in fact more commonplace? And as you stated, 3,500 plus families, children globally, all cultures, all belief systems. They may not even believe in aliens, but see them. This is not about belief. That's the thing, Rob. It's not about a belief. As long they say, oh, well, you're a believer. No, you're only a believer when you actually have the experience and see for yourself that it's true. But many people, they weren't believers until they actually saw this blue being by the window, or being taken up on a spacecraft, or their children talk about going to the space school at night and what they learn there. That's how you become a believer with many people. Although there are others that right from the word go were very psychic as a child, saw beings in there, and saw their best, this little person, this invisible friend, which was blue, that came to them at night and was always with them. These are the experiences that they either get dismissed or they start to accept them, and they are quite comfortable with the fact that they've been having interactions with beings all their lives.
Yeah, that is awesome. And I really love your practical, logical approach to speaking about this, because another thing is that the three-dimensional reality, I think, is really a perfect way to explain, to really, dummy it down really for the masses to understand what it is that we're trying to say. Because I think a lot of times when people speak on this, it comes across the type of words and phrases that are used can come across with sort of like religious undertones and like so it almost, for someone on the outside that you're trying to get to understand this, they feel like more standoffish because they feel like, okay, are you trying to bring me into some sort of religious belief system? And I'm so glad that you said it that way, because I know that you are a person that is open minded and questions the things that you learn and that you come across, which I think is very valuable and something that a way that everyone should approach as we go through this. Be open minded, question what it is that you are seeing and what you are experiencing, and I think that's the perfect approach. Getting into the awakening part. So you've authored a couple books here, which is Awakening, How Extraterrestrial Contact Can Transform Your Life, from 2002. And then you also have The New Human, Awakening to Our Cosmic Heritage. Like you stated before, you believe, and I do too, that everyone has the ability to be unlocked. Some are born unlocked automatically. Some become unlocked at some point during their life with traumatic, it may be a traumatic experience that does it, or just get subject to like ayahuasca or something like that that unlocks. So everything you're saying I resonate with. And I was wondering if you could go into kind of what motivated writing these titles, and kind of talk to us about the whole awakening process, and maybe give us some jewels on how we can start that process. If for people that haven't, I feel like I'm unlocked at this point, but for people that may still be kind of searching through this.
Well, it's a good question, Rob. And the reason I wrote Awakening to begin with was because so many people that were having these experiences, not always fully understanding what they were experiencing, for example, because if they're very religious, they may think that they're seeing angels, where someone else would say, well, I'm seeing light beings. So they would interpret them through their belief system. If it was religious, then they would see them like that. But what I discovered was, as I realized that more and more people across the planet were having these experiences, they didn't always have somewhere to go, someone to listen who wasn't going to think that they were crazy, because you go to the standard psychology or psychiatry, then you're going to not know whether or not that particular clinical psychologist is open to this kind of thing or not. Psychiatrist, even more so, you're more likely to be medicated and stuck in and being told you're schizophrenic or something to do with that. So there was, where do I go where I can be safe and talk about this and someone's not going to laugh at me or think I'm crazy? So I wrote Awakening as a process. How do you know this is real? What do you do about the fear? What if it's happening to my kids? I get this information in my head. What do I do about it? So it was a kind of resource book, a self-help resource book for people who think they're having encounters. And it was meant to be very practical and giving illustrations, for example, because one of the stories in there was a 19-year-old girl in Western Australia who rang me up and said, I think I'm having experiences with these beings and I don't think I'm crazy. Proceeded to tell me at 14, she told the doctor that she was seeing aliens, and he immediately medicated her heavily and called her schizophrenic. And she had been on this medication, heavy medication, where she'd nearly taken her life 2 or 3 times. And it was a talk show, American talk show that she saw, where they were talking about their experiences. And suddenly the revelation was, oh my goodness, maybe it was real. Maybe I wasn't imagining it. Maybe, I'm not crazy. And I told her story in Awakening because it was so profound, because this is one story of hundreds of thousands, very likely, of people who've done the same thing, gone and asked for help, and it not being understood because we're on with a truth embargo that says it's not real still across this planet, which is doing the most terrible damage to so many people who think that, they're going crazy, or if they're not crazy, no one's going to listen to them or whatever. So that was Awakening. The next, and why I'm saying, can it transform your life? because one of the things that I co-founded was the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Free Foundation, where we did a survey of 4,200 people globally, 600 questions. And one of the things that was amazing to us afterwards was the final outcome of people when they finally processed they were having these experiences and realized how it changed them very positively. You know, they would change their lifestyle, become less materialistic, become more psychic, want to do something to help the planet, wanting to do healing and what have you. 85% of them said they had a psycho-spiritual transformation out of the 4,000. That's 85% of them saw a transformation from their interactions with these beings. 50% had healing, they said, on board craft, for example. This is not statistics anywhere else with this kind of information. So we were seeing, and that's why I put how it transforms your life, because ultimately many of them, once they understood it and realized what was going on and their part in it, often completely changed from being fear-based to actually saying, this has changed me in numerous transformative ways. And so I've got good reason to say that. The new human is that I'm noticing many of the new generations of human children are very different to even 20, 30 years ago. They're more psychic, more intuitive. They have information about where they come from. Many of them say, this is my first time on the planet. They'll say what planet they came from. One young 10-year-old was saying that he came from a planet where he was blue. This was his first incarnation. He's come with a mission. And he said, I've come here to help with the pollution of this planet. He also, mentioned other things that he understood about himself. So many children are talking about their mission and why they're here. An 8-year-old telling me he can communicate with animals and he's going to help humans understand that they're sentient. We must treat them with respect. These children are multidimensionally aware and a lot more awake, where we're still waiting for that switch to go on. And it gradually is for the older models, as I call it, like myself. We just take a bit longer to get there. But these children are being born, but they're being labeled ADHD, Asperger's, autistic, dyslexic. So why is that? And that's what I explore in the book, because their stories are in there. But why are they given these labels generally as a dysfunction? And what I discovered was that it's intergenerational in terms of experiences. So if you're having experiences, it's likely your siblings or one of your parents and one of your grandparents or both of your grandparents are having experiences, but they may not realize it. I say, did your mum or dad ever show that they were different in any way? And I would get, granddad was always into UFOs. And that told me the mere fact that there was an interest there in something unusual, and usually going down the line, and each generation was more awake, more aware. But what was happening with the new generations was they were given these labels because they were different and because they weren't being understood, because they were hypersensitive, very empathic, knowing things that they weren't taught, because they are often taken up on craft and being taught things, complex things on board craft or whatever. But why the labels? And what I discovered was because, and I didn't understand that to start with. So why are they being given these labels, and what is ADHD? And a gentleman in Hong Kong gave me the clue to start with, and his name is Neil Gold. And he wrote a book, Close Encounters of the ADHD Kind. And he said he always had interactions with the light beings, and he could see, because he was ADHD, far more complex nature of reality of the hologram. And he retranslated that as always dialed into higher dimensions, because that's the ADHD normal. That is because they are more multidimensionally aware and they are operating on a higher frequency. So what do we do? Because they won't get programmed as easily, which is the whole idea of it. Because they can't be programmed so easily, they're dumbed down so they can be programmed, because these intelligences know our programming is what limits us from opening up more multidimensionally, because we're programmed at birth not to believe anything other than the 5 senses. So everything else, it's rubbish, you're going crazy, you're imagining things, you're on drugs, all these kind of things, to dismiss that awareness. So these new children have been prevented from being programmed the same way so that they can achieve their true purpose and their mission on this planet. That goes with Asperger's. They're highly intelligent. but they don't mess around. They say directly, honestly, what they think and feel, because we should be honest. Every one of them has a particular skill and awareness, but we're labeling them. So I talk about all of that. And I talk about what do you do if your child is given that label, how you can stabilize them, help them, support them without looking at medication, but also their stories about coming from other planets. One little 8-year-old was explaining to me that she was a human hybrid, human water being human. And I said, well, what do you mean by water being? She said, well, I come from a planet where I'm a water being. And when I look in the mirror, I'm seeing myself as a water being. And I said, so what is it? So she said, I'm part water being, part human. And she says, and when I hear music, she said, I not only hear the music, but I actually follow the frequency to where it comes from whoever created it and what is going on for them, their emotions and their feelings when they created the music. She's 8 years old. Wow. This is what I mean about the hypersensitivity of these kids. And we're saying, oh, well, you know, they're a bit strange, or they're not doing as they're told, or, you know, or there's something wrong with them or what have you. It's only because we're not understanding. We're looking at a whole new type of human that is more awake.
Wow, that is a great perspective to have, and a great angle to take, because it makes sense. I mean, it definitely makes sense. You know, we are for the most part stuck in this what you call three-dimensional reality, and a society that leads us to believe that if you are diagnosed with some of the things that you mentioned, that you are outside of the box, you're not normal, when actually that might be the normal. And what we are experiencing here in this society is the abnormal, which is more likely than not. And on this path, and I think I've said this before, it really made me change my perspective on you know, people that you might see. You see someone on the corner that is talking to themselves, and then you're taught to believe that is the wrong, and this person is crazy, when this person actually might be unlocked and connected, and you're the one not seeing it right. So I love that angle. And also the point that you talked about with it appears that children now, or these newer generations, are more unlocked, and that us as the older generation, we end up becoming unlocked along the path. And my whole thing is that I agree with that. And, you know, my whole vision and hope to be able to see, hopefully within my lifetime, is that, you know, a generation or two, or maybe even three, hopefully, that end up being completely unlocked, and kind of how that changes the world and changes the way of thinking for the world. And yeah, I mean, I think you're on the right path with that. With that being said, I have looked into ways that I think often of ways that I can help unlock people, and that's kind of why I do the show and why I have the conversations that I have here. What would you, based on your research, and I know that you help people through these processes, what would be like the ground level, some bare bones things that people can use or begin to do to start to maybe unlock themselves if they want to try to intentionally do this?
It's a good question, Rob. And I think in a way, intuitively, we know anyway. Many say meditation is a good way to start. And you don't have to be someone who's thinking of nothing. You can go on a visualization that will open you up and what have you. And actually putting out to what I call the other realms, because I believe we have support, whether you call them spirit guides or whether you call them angels, it doesn't really matter. That we get support and saying, I want to now understand more. I want to grow. I want to be more of who I am. So that's another way. Some people start to do healing and energy work as a way of waking up. If you think you're having experiences, for example, I've got a questionnaire with more unusual questions that ask you certain things about yourself that you may not have realized are connected to having experiences, like fear of clowns, for example, is a classic. It's a screen memory, often for the greys that come and visit. And if you've got a fear of clowns, often that's the reason for that. Or fear of spiders or Santa Claus is another one, or skeletons. Sometimes they can be a reason why you're fearful of perhaps those particular images. But there are other things, where you felt like you've never belonged, like you've been adopted. You feel very different to your siblings, feel like you've got a mission or a purpose, for example, get drawn into holistic ways and healing and this kind of thing. Feeling energy, for example, or feeling you can communicate with other sentient beings, like animals or something like this. Feeling or having a knowing, and those means that you're opening up. And the more you honor that, the more things open up for you. It's like one of these things. What we do is, that was just me imagining things. And we dismiss everything to being imagination, when in fact it may not be. It may be another part of us. And some talk about the higher self, as a way of the higher self presenting us with synchronicities all the time, saying, have you got it yet? Seeing the 1111 or the 2222 or the 33 or the 33 and these kind of numbers, they are showing that there's some part of you that's waking up and activating. And if you find that you're going against the flow of the general consensus and questioning things, or wanting to explore things in depth, and find yourself riveted by, some get riveted by astronomy or looking at hidden truths or ancient archaeology or whatever, you find yourself fascinated by certain things. That's the other part of you that's saying, you need to wake up. You need to find about the truth now. It's time you stop living in the dream world of the blue pill, and start to take the red pill. It's about time, or this kind of thing. All these things are ways, and we all have as souls different ways to wake up. Some people, they may join a healing group, and it does it for them and it activates something. Or for someone else, it's seeing a light in the sky that does strange things. And they're saying, I keep seeing these lights every time I go outside, and they keep doing these patterns and what have you. I said, and they may also be communicating with you, by the way. Did you feel different after you had seen those lights? And they say, yeah, I find myself really interested in astronomy and really wanting to look into it. And I've also found that I'm a lot more sensitive now. I say, well, something seems to have happened, doesn't it? Because sometimes when you see a craft, it doesn't necessarily mean that's all you're doing. Sometimes they're making sure you see them because there's an interaction going on, even if you're not consciously aware of it. So there's all sorts of ways that when it's time for you to wake up, you find that that's going to be the catalyst for it.
Man, that's why I couldn't wait to talk to you, because wake up, awakening, those are really important words in as far as is that is what it's all about. Like everything else surrounds awakening and waking up, because I think we end up realizing what we are and what our abilities are once we get to that point. And it's I feel good doing my part to try to help that happen. And then you talk about synchronicity, and this is just a sidebar, but literally probably 2-3 times a week, I will look at my iPad or look at my watch, and it is either 11:11, 3:33, or 4:44. It is always those. It's never 5 or 2:22. It's never that. It's always 11:11, 3:33, or 4:44. And what I do every time that happens, I screen capture the time, and I have so many screenshots that with that specific time, I'm just showing myself that it's more than a coincidence that those things are happening, and it's like gathering receipts for myself to understand that, yes, there is more to this. And that's why I love having conversations like this. But Mary, what we're going to do real quick, we're going to go ahead and pause for the cause for our break here at the top of the hour. So guys, we will be right back with Mary Rodwell, getting into some more deep stuff, ACERN and other things that she's involved in. So I would love if you guys can get your questions together, because we will ask those questions on the second half of the next hour. Please put them in caps. I will try to tag every single message, and then we'll get into those. But other than that, we'll be right back with hour 2 of After Hours. See you in just a minute. All right, ladies and gents, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio After Hours, hour number 2, with me, your host, Mr. Rob G, and our fantastic guest, all the way down from Queensland, Australia, Mary Rodwell. Mary, wanted to go ahead and get into ACERN, right? So ACERN, it looks like it stands, you're the founder, and looks like it stands for Australian Close Encounter Resource Network. If you wouldn't mind letting everybody know what that is and what type of support you provide.
Good question, Rob. What happened was, because very early on I found there was absolutely no support, even in UFO groups. You often found that people would go to UFO groups thinking they'd meet others that had had encounters or had experiences, but they'd talk about the bright lights in the sky, and everyone's very interested in the photos and the videos of that. But not very many were very interested in people's experiences because it was a bit scary. They didn't know what to make of it, and they didn't know how to support them. So in many cases, they'd go and be very disappointed they couldn't talk about what was going on for them, very real and very regularly in many cases, because this can be a lifelong experience and often is. So what I wanted to do was provide what normal support is, which is counseling, because I've been a counselor for 35 years. I offer hypnotherapy, but I also offer information, so that in fact, when people come to me and they don't know, well, is this real? Am I imagining it? Am I crazy or whatever? I can give them the information that may validate if it's something that's been going on, because I've got the patterns of the experience, so many hundreds now, thousands now, that I know very quickly that's real for them. So I can offer them a listening ear with no judgment. I can offer them the counseling and the hypnosis if they have something like missing time, or they've got scattered recall of something. They may have seen bright lights and what have you, and felt something happen, but not quite sure, but may wake up with some strange marks on their body or whatever and feel different or whatever. So sometimes the hypnosis is taking them back to that experience and finding out what really did happen. And often what they feared happened may not be quite as terrible as they imagined, which is always often a really good thing. So it can be very helpful to connect the dots. And many people may have sat on an experience for 20 or 30 years and been afraid to actually look into it, but saying, I've got to find out now. I've got to know now. So hypnosis is really, really important. And more than anything, I also do things like this, which is about putting the information out there, helping people to realize, if they think they've had these experiences, that it's global, that it's not just thousands, very likely millions, even more than that, it might be billions. And it's right across the indigenous, different cultures, different belief systems. Doesn't matter if you're a lawyer or a doctor or you're a farmer or you're a housewife, you can have these experiences. It doesn't matter what your belief system is, you can have them. So part of it's doing what you're doing, only I'm helped by someone like you, Rob, because you actually helped me put this information out there so people can start connecting the dots. I do lots and lots of interviews and been in documentaries and all this kind of thing. So basically anything I can do to put this information out, to normalize it, because it's part of our reality. It's part of this paradigm, this multidimensional paradigm that we're all in. This, this quantum hologram, as the quantum physicists would like to call it, and I believe we are in a quantum hologram as such. But the bottom line is to take away the stigma too. No, you're not crazy. This is happening across the world, and it's happening to all ages, all groups, all cultures, all beliefs. And you are one of those that's having this kind of experience. Do you want to know more? Do you want to explore it to understand what your part is in this? To help them connect the dots is the most important, because that's the most healing of all.
Wow, that sounds like my type of thing. It's just wild, and I always come away shocked. Well, shocked, I guess I could say, and amazed at how aligned we are. I haven't even spoken to you before. We had never met. However, a lot of the same ideals. You're saying a lot of the things, and I find that there are other guests as well that I speak to that have the same mission to awaken humanity, and a lot of the same things are said. So I ask a question like this: in your research, okay, as far as humanity goes as a whole, because we have a small segment that have conscious memories of encounters or experiences. And the question that I had, and I've asked other people before, is do you feel like if a random person who has never really even considered UFOs, if they were to go into take part in the research that you're, or the hypnotherapy and things like that you do you think that we would find out that more people than not have actually had some sort of experience, even though they may not recall it?
Absolutely. And I'll give you a really classic one that happened many years ago. And it happened because one of my daughter's friends wanted to do a past life regression. And I said, yeah, sure, because I've done plenty of past life regressions. Now, she just wanted to find out what she could remember of maybe a past life. She went back to a time where she found she was a kind of medicine woman. I'm going somewhere with this, stay with me. So she's seeing herself in, I think it was somewhere like Britain. She sees herself as a medicine woman. She says, I'm getting all the herbs and I help heal people. And, you know, that's my job. And I said to her quite innocently, so how do you know all this? Who taught you? You know, was there some other mentor that you had, a male or female mentor that taught you about the herbs and what they did and all the rest of it? And she said, but I learned about it in the woods. So I said to her, so when you go to the woods, how do you get the information to know what these healing herbs are? And she said, because there's a little gray being about 4 foot tall that shows me the different herbs and things that I need for different conditions. Now, this was not what we were exploring. It had nothing to do, as far as I was aware, to do with ETs. And yet, that's what she told me. And another very classic one. These are people that had no idea that was her past life. But the one that was a present life was a young man who'd had an accident with a motorbike when he was about 14 and had no memory of how the accident happened. And he was in hospital with concussion for some days because of it and what have you. And he said, I'd like to know how the accident happened on my motorbike because I've got no recall of it whatsoever. And I didn't know whether we'd even get that far, that we'd be able to find out. And we had a few false starts where he kept getting blanks and getting blanks. But to cut a long story short, we finally found out that, you know, he'd got his bike, he was going down a country lane. And I kept saying, what are you seeing next? What are you seeing next? Standard hypnosis, you know, just unveil the picture. And all of a sudden, I said, what are you seeing now? And he said, I'm seeing a spaceship. And I said, you're seeing a spaceship? He said, yes. He's still on his bike. He still hasn't had the accident. And he says, now they've taken me up on the spaceship. And he describes an interaction on the spaceship. When he gets back down and goes back on his bike, it's then he doesn't see something in the road. And his motorbike goes upside down and he has the accident. So the primary thing makes you wonder, maybe he was still a little bit, you know, not quite 100% when he got on his bike, but he had no recollection that he'd been up on a spacecraft before he had the accident. So this is what I mean. These are, you know, people they think that they want to imagine it and they, you know, whatever. These are two classic cases where this was the last thing we were actually looking to find out at all. And then I found out when I talked to him that actually some of the things that go with encounters he'd had, but he had no idea they were connected and had certainly no idea it was connected to his accident and what have you. And this is what I find. People will say to me, well, I've had dreams where I've been on a spacecraft. And I've said to them, you know, when did you have that dream? And they'll say, oh, I had that dream about 20 years ago. And I say, you still remember it? Don't you think that's a bit strange that you still remember a dream 20 years down the track? Because primarily when you've got dreams that stay with you like that, they're usually not dreams. You think they're dreams because it's in an altered state, but in fact, it's not. because normal dreams you usually forget within minutes or seconds
Yeah.
even. So if you're still remembering a dream 20 years later or 5 years later or whatever, it's most likely not a dream.
Okay, getting into that because I've talked about, I've talked. Okay, so before I jump into that, let me ask you this. So, in a situation like that you just described, so you have a person coming in to you. Initially, they don't have any recollection of, uh, having contact with spaceships or beings. Then they go through the therapy, they come out on the other side, and you've uncovered that they actually have. How do they handle that? So someone who, do they accept it, or what is their usual response when you have opened their eyes to this and now they realize, okay, wow, I may have had some sort of encounter. How is that handled? Are they able to handle it?
Well, for some, it's a lot more difficult than others. A lot depends on their previous belief system, whether they're, if they're particularly religious, it will perhaps be more difficult for them sometimes. If they've they've grown up with a more open-minded kind of scenario, they may be more accepting. But it depends on the individual. What I can do, though, is give them more and more evidence of its reality and talk about, the fact that, the DNA shows that we are intelligently designed. I think what's been important for me, Rob, because of my background as well, my medical background and what have you, I have wanted to bring it into 3D as much as possible in terms of the tangibility of it. And so I've looked at the DNA and I've looked at the anomalies in the DNA, and I know that we're intelligently designed. And I know there's numerous species that have been involved in our creation, for example. The gods of old were not gods. They were ETs with high technology, and we've interpreted them as gods, for example, this kind of thing. So it's what I found is helpful is to get them to be more informed so that they can actually put their experiences into some form of context rather than, now what do I do with this? You've just handed me this big football of strange awareness, and what do I do with it? Well, let me help you ground it. Let me help you start to see the bigger picture with this. So, I've looked at everything from archaeology, anthropology, science, healing, theology, all through, and you've got links to all of that when you start seeing, that we have had this heritage of being visited by these intelligences all through history. This starts to ground it, and it gives people a better context, and they're still interested in us because we're part of them. And of course they're going to monitor us. Of course they're going to check on us. Of course we're going to be important to them. And that's why when somebody says, oh, they're all evil and what have you, and they've got an agenda, they want to take us out. Well, they've had plenty of opportunity to take us out right from the very beginning, and they haven't done it yet. And let's face it, we're a lot more technically advanced as we were when we were in prehistory. So, yeah. But there are, there is likely some more self-serving ones, but the primary thing that I am noticing in a majority of cases is being ultimately positive. And I need to say that because there's something that makes it appear negative, and there's something called where the military or the deep state gets involved in this, and they do abduct people and they make them connect it to ETs when it isn't necessarily ETs. So there's a darker agenda going on there that creates a lot of fear.
Wow. Okay, that's a good thing to jump into as well. Now, before we do that, I just want to let the viewers know I am tagging your questions. So I do have a couple questions. Just so you know, we will be asking those the last half of this hour. If you guys have any other questions, make sure you go ahead and get them in so I can go ahead and save those, and then we can go ahead and ask them coming up in the next 20 minutes here. So, yeah, so you say, okay, so the government involvement then, so you brought that up. So, I talked to Melinda Leslie, and, she speaks about the My Labs and things of that nature. What is your view on that? I guess maybe you can go into that and kind of talk to us about, what part in maybe even explain why the government would step in and do such a thing. I mean, I've always wondered about that.
Well, it's not until you get into this that you start to see there's a complexity that you don't initially realize, because it is so complex. There's so many layers to it. When I started doing support groups, particularly when I went over to the US and big conferences there like UFO Congress and others, they would have experiencer groups, and you could have 50, 60 people turn up for these experiencer groups. And I facilitated several of them. And what I discovered was there was a group of the most traumatized, the most fearful, and they were generally ones like Melinda that had had MyLab experiences, because they were really traumatized by what happened to them through these deep state military MyLab, if you like, which she obviously spoke about. And what their agenda is, first of all, to find out what people learn on the craft. They want to know what they're up to, what different ET agendas are, how it's changed their abilities. They want to basically interrogate them to get as much information about technologies and the ETs themselves as possible. But they don't want these people talking about it afterwards, because, if they start coming out and saying, this is the military done this to me, drugged me, interrogated me, raped me, or whatever it was that happened. So they make sure that they don't want to talk about it, or they're too fearful to talk about it. So you've got them highly traumatized from that, let alone the ET stuff that may or may, that has happened as well to them. And they're trying to process that as well. The whole idea is to shut them up and make them look foolish or crazy or whatever. And that's been part of the agenda. But it's about getting information, getting data. And there are some, and I don't know whether Melinda talked about this, but there is something called program life forms. What I mean by that is the genetic material of particularly the gray, the Zeta or the gray, and the reptilian. They have grown those beings, if you like, from the DNA, and they will use them as their program by the military, and they will be the ones that people see. So they won't be seeing necessarily the real ones at all. They'll be seeing the ones programmed. So it's really complex, because the whole idea is to instill fear and shut them up. And if they do talk about it, nobody's going to ever believe them. Niara Isley, a lovely lady who I know very well, has written a book called Facing the Shadow, Awakening to the Light. I'm not sure if I've got that exactly right. Facing the Shadow, Embracing the Light. And I did the foreword for her. She had and has had really traumatic MyLab experiences. And she wrote about them. The way she found out that she'd had them was actually through body work, which actually through the body work and healing opened her up to all these visions of being interrogated. And she was in the military. She was in radar. And it was her own people that actually abducted her. And she talks about what they did to her. And it is horrific. But there's another spiritual part to this. And I think it's important to say this as well, because she found that her star family, as she called it, the ones that were benevolent and cared for her, she'd made a kind of agreement to write about what happened to her, to expose it. And it was part of her mission, if you like, on this planet to do so. So she saw it as a spiritual journey and a mission to highlight what is being done, in what I call man's inhumanity to man. And, there are, we know, dark forces on this planet that do their very best to shut us down from multiple levels. And this is one of those that are really just self-serving in terms of that. And the damage they've done to hundreds, thousands. I wrote in my book, The New Human, of a 9-year-old boy who was extremely aware, very, very bright, smart. And he told me about an experience he had where he was taken to an underground base. He was sat in a chair. There was a lady in a uniform black uniform in front of him. And he said what she was doing, she had some technology to one side, and she was trying to bring down my frequency to reprogram information into my head. I knew what she was doing, and I kept my frequency too high so she couldn't do it. So it's not just the adults, it's the new children. They're being targeted as well. So this is a whole other layer to this, and it's part of what's going on.
Yeah, I mean that was a great way to explain that, and I do appreciate that. I mean, I could see the angle on that. I could definitely see the angle on that. Now, I know we had a viewer, and I was going to save questions, but this actually was going to be something I was going to ask you. Shifting into dreams. So you made a comment earlier where you stated, if it's just a dream, something that you usually forget about pretty much immediately when you wake up, but something that you remember over a long period of time is likely something that was real. And I have an experience where I go to this certain place. I don't know where it's at, but it is somewhere. And I started having this dream probably 15 years back, 20 years back maybe. And when I'm there, I remember I can see everything in detail. There's a street, there's particular buildings, and then what'll happen is I'll have that dream for a series of about maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. Then 5 years may go by, and then I'll have it again, and I'll go back to the exact same place. Everything there is exactly the same, and I'm more convinced because I've had that happen maybe 2 or 3 times, and every time I go back, it's exactly as I remembered it before. And so I'm under the belief and feeling that your consciousness in those situations when you're asleep, I guess astral travel potentially is what this is. And I feel like I'm actually going to whatever place this is. And it just, the reason why I feel that way is because it's exactly the same every single time that I'm there. So I don't know if you can expound on that and, what you found from talking to other people that may have experienced things like that. What is that considered, and what is your view on that?
Apart from having similar kinds of experiences, I would say that what we discovered, even with the ET side of things, was that out of those that had the experience, 75% of their experiences on board craft were out of body, just to put that one into context. So only 25% was physical. But when we go out of body, we don't always, not necessarily go on board a spacecraft, but we can go to other dimensions, parallel realities. And if you're looking at the spirit dimension, we're not just tied here. The understanding is the spirit can operate in if you like, I was sort of, to give you an indication, it's like here's the soul, but aspects of the soul can go into other realities. So in other words, parts of you, your essence, your soul self, your higher self, can go into other realities and actually experience life in those realities as well. So we're only just beginning to get a sense of the awareness and the complexity of what our soul essence can do. Our consciousness, if you like, can actually split up and actually access other realities. And we may very well be having lives there. I've talked to people in hypnosis where they're saying, I've got a life in that dimension and I've got 3 kids and my husband does X, Y, and Z. And in this other reality, so it may very well be another aspect of our experience. But it also, can be that we are all experiencing being in other realities and just as a viewer, just as someone that's going and traveling. One of the things that comes up as I'm saying that is, I remember a young man who was a graphic designer, and he said to me, I'm seeing myself in a past life, he said, as a Zeta, as a gray. He said, and we're moving something big from one dimension to the other, and we've moved it too fast. And I said, what is it? He said, it's a planet. So he was seeing himself as an extraterrestrial moving a planetary body from one dimension to the other. And he said, we moved it too quickly and we've messed up its energy, so we've got to sort it out. Now, is that a reality? Is that possible? Why is it not possible? I mean, we don't know what's possible. We don't know what's impossible. Yeah. We don't know what we don't know. Exactly. So to me, I can't say that could or couldn't happen. It's something that he brought up out of the blue as a reality for him. Maybe this is just beginning. These stories are just beginning to help us understand the amazing complexity and abilities of our essence, our soul self, for example.
You are speaking my language. You are definitely speaking my language. So you said something that I think is important to go back to a moment ago. You mentioned ex- times where people have talked about experiences where a percentage of those are physical, physically going on these craft, where a larger percentage ends up being the consciousness, maybe, I guess, is what is going aboard these ships. And I always have asked that question and thought, when it comes to abductions, if I've always asked, is it a physical thing or is the consciousness boarding these ships? And you kind of touched on that. So can you go further into that and kind of what research led you to that?
I'll give you two examples of what goes on, because some people say that when they're on the craft, they pilot the ship, and children have talked about it as well.
Yeah.
One young lady, she was up on the craft, and she describes herself in a grey Zeta body as a scientist. And I'm saying, what are you doing? She says, well, I'm a scientist. I'm doing certain procedures on the craft. So I said, where is your human body? And she pointed to it like it was just waiting for her, completely still waiting for her. So I said to her, so when you're done doing what you're doing on board craft, I said, how do you get back to your physical body? And she described this ball of light leaving the Zeta body, which was just like a coat, and actually going back to the human body and reanimating the human body. An 8-year-old told me that his family were the mantis beings and they're his ancestors. And when he goes on board craft sometimes, he explained to me that he evaporates into a mantid body for a time and then comes back. And he called it evaporation because he was 8, and then back into the body again. We have no idea yet how our soul self, our consciousness can operate. We're only just getting a brief idea of what can happen and what can be possible. That's just two examples. So yes, we can often go on the craft. I suspect there may even be avatars waiting for us to inhabit, to do tasks on board craft. As one said, I pilot the craft when I'm on, when I go up onto the ship. Many have told me that they do that and are taught how to do it. An 8-year-old told me she was taught how to pilot the craft and what have you. So
that makes a lot of sense. That actually makes a whole lot of sense, especially when you get into those type of experiences where someone says that they have boarded a ship and piloted the ship. It makes more sense the way that you just explained it. And is it possible that, because some of these experiencers that say that they've done this, they will say that they've done this in the physical. Is it possible that they are misinterpreting the physical and they're not realizing that potentially it was just their consciousness that had done this, or are there actually cases where they're physically boarding these ships and piloting these ships?
I think it
research.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, Rob, it could be both, depending on, I know that sometimes our physical body may not do so well in certain craft, perhaps, depends on where they're going and what they're doing. But I certainly, 25% recall being physically on the craft and describing what they experienced and seeing others very physically on the craft as well, other human whether they're, if they're children, they'll see other human children and whatever as well. And there's a lot of interactions where it is very physical and very, very much, the human body that's involved. I think it depends on what the soul mission is and what their connection is to their star origins, because many of them will relate and say, I feel I'm from the Pleiades, or I feel I'm from Orion, or I feel I'm from Andromeda or Taurus. Or a 10-year-old told me that he believed he came through. Well, he said, I'm from another dimension, and I came through a portal in the sun. Was his way of explaining where he came from, because a lot of the children also talk about coming from other dimensions.
All right. Now, what I want to do, I know we had a couple questions here from the audience, so we'll go ahead and get a couple of those in. I have Lakeside Laura, who wants to ask, what does Mary think about online regression versus Dolores Cannon's belief of in-person regression?
Right, that's an interesting one. Well, all I can say is I've done quite a number, and in the hundreds now online, and I don't think it makes the slightest bit of difference. The important thing for me is that you have a good connection with the individual that you're working with, and they trust you enough or have confidence in you enough to go and be regressed. Some people just prefer to be physically with you. They just like just like the idea of actually the physical. So some will actually come to my office. But I've done regressions all over the world, and as long as they can speak English, it's not been a problem. So as far as I'm concerned, you can get just as much data, just as much understanding, as if the difference between perhaps Dolores's methods and mine are generally a lot faster. I don't take so long in terms of my process. But for me, I have absolutely no difference in the efficiency and the success of working that way. It is really about the person trusting you and having confidence in you is the primary thing for that.
All right. And then we have Ange, who is asking, and I guess this had to do with the My Labs conversation we were having. She wants to know, why would the military interfere with abductees/contractees?
Well, they have got a number of agendas. There's a book called My Lab by Dr. Helmut Lemmer, who wrote it many, many years ago. And he actually stipulated many of the reasons why. They need to know what goes on what happens on the craft, what these experiences, those on the craft are being taught. What do they understand about their connection to these beings? They want to understand as many agendas and technology, for example, that they've got. They also want to be sure that they don't talk about their experiences because it validates the reality of it as well. So that part of that is to shut them down and make them afraid and make sure that, that they'll be afraid of being considered crazy. The whole secrecy thing has come about simply because there's too many things at stake once this actually comes out, from the technologies that have been hidden from us for 80, 90 years or whatever, however long it is now that they've known this and had the technology. And let's face it, there's a lot to lose from knowing that we've had ways of where we didn't need to pollute the planet, for example, that was free energy, healing technologies that would mean that we didn't need pharmaceuticals anymore, for example. There's a whole range of other technologies that have been hidden. I was told by a whistleblower that they have technology 30 years in advance of what we're being given. 30 years, maybe even 50 years in advance of what we're being given. So there's a lot at stake when people finally find out what's been hidden from us. And what do you think is going to happen when people find out we didn't need to pollute this planet the way we've done it? We didn't need to go into mortgages and what have you to feed and to heat our homes and to run our cars and all the rest of it. What do you think is going to happen when they know that there's been healing technologies that would mean that you no longer suffered cancer and all these other things like the med beds that are being promoted? What do you think is going to happen? That's why it's still being stamped down on, and they're trying to do a limited disclosure, because when it all comes out, well, I think there's going to be hell to pay.
Exactly. Please be frank, because I think that's exactly right. And they're when you suppress the ascension, and then once we realize that as a whole, yeah, it's gonna be pretty bad. It's not gonna be good. I mean, the conversation that's gonna have to be had at that point is gonna be a tough one. That's why I don't put any faith in these governments in bringing this disclosure, because of that very fact, and because of probably other things that they know. But I encourage them. To say, hey, get ahead of this thing. Let's have the conversation now. Yeah, we probably will have to have the tough part of it as well, but at least you're kind of trying to show that you have the best interests of humanity, at heart, and that you really want to assist with the ascension of humanity. Because I feel like that conversation is going to be tough. But then, if we bring disclosure on our own, which it looks like we probably will, then it's going to make it even worse. And even, the trust, where is the trust going to go? I think it's completely out the window. And I'm just like, I don't know what type of, I don't know. I guess that's kind of the part that we're filling out, like what that's going to be like, because it's really a matter of not if, but when the day comes where we have that confirmation, and then now we're on the other side of it, and now we're trying to figure out what we're going to do as humanity, which direction we're going to go. And sad part is that these power structures that have been holding these secrets probably won't get to be part of the conversation, or even won't even be factored in to the plan that we have going forward. So it's weird and crazy the time that we're in, and I understand why the power structure is here, and why certain things are in place. And I'm just always say this because I know they listen to these shows, and the governments are all made up of human beings that have families, and will have grandchildren and descendants that will have to live in this world. So when I speak, I try to speak to those that have compassion and look at things on a human level and say, hey guys, someone needs to step out and really get this thing uncovered, like immediately. Like, if you care about your descendants down the line, then someone needs to come out and have that conversation, regardless on what the government as a whole thinks about that. And that's just how I feel about that. But yeah, moving in, we have another question here. We have another one from Anne. She was asking, marks like triangles, are they military based? I don't know exactly what she was referring to.
I think from what Mary's saying here, that the ones that get the triangular marks, is that coming from my lab, or is it coming from these?
Okay.
My understanding is that they're coming from an extraterrestrial contact, because there's lots of different kinds of marks, and often there's been maybe a medical procedure being done that would leave those kinds of marks on the body, and there's lots of different kinds. My understanding is it's primarily from a real experience, not the my lab.
Okay. And I think that is all we have for questions right now. So I did want to get into a term that I saw you use before, which is called the activation of humanity. So can you explain exactly what you mean by that, and kind of go into that?
Well, I talked earlier, Rob, about the DNA side of things. And
Okay.
one of the anomalies in our DNA is the fact that 90 to 95% of it is considered dormant. They don't know what it does. They only know about what 5% of our DNA does. And this is quite interesting, because what is it there for? And I go into some of the DNA side of that. And one of the fascinating things is it in fact part of us that's not been activated yet? And it's waiting to be activated, because it's going to show us more of our abilities and our awareness. Like people are saying, they're awakening, they're getting more intuitive abilities, they're becoming more precognitive, they're becoming more clairvoyant, they find themselves having healing abilities and sensing things around them and getting downloads of information and what have you. So all of these things, how much of that is part of the activation? And what many of the experiencers are saying is that as they have these downloads and what have you, they feel more and more aware, which suggests that the DNA is the crucial part of that. Now, we know that 1 gram of DNA can contain enough information with everything that's on the internet. 1 gram.
Right.
That's how much information. What is in our DNA that we as yet don't understand? And I go back to a film called Lucy, which some of you may or may not have seen. And if you haven't seen it, The story is about a drug that's implanted in a woman that starts to leak, and it's a new kind of drug which activates her DNA. And as it's slowly being activated, she's becoming more and more and more multidimensional and more expanded until the point she actually just becomes light. And I think in a way that's where we're going in terms of being activated. When you get somebody saying to you, I'm a hybrid, I think I come from a particular star system or whatever, part of that DNA that's related to that star system is being activated and making them aware of their origins, for example. And that's what's going on now. And one of the ways we're being activated is the downloads. Some people get downloads of science, history, it could be biology, it could be healing information, it could be all of these different things. But some people are downloading strange symbols and scripts and strange artwork and pictures of the beings, for example. And all of this is an activation for people who will look at it and see it. It's even though we don't understand it, they're all frequencies. And this is happening right across the board with children doing it. I've got children writing symbols across their arm to adding, suddenly they're getting all these complex scripts, and they're, some of it's like shorthand, some of it looks Chinese, and they're saying, am I going crazy or whatever? And this is part of the reality of the downloads that have been given to us as part of activation. And to give you an example of that was, I was showing some of these scripts and some of these star languages that people are speaking. And afterwards, a lady came up to me, and she was a nurse. And she said, after seeing that now, she said, I found myself right while you were talking, writing down all these scripts. So it actually triggered something in her. So what a lot of these are a combination of activation codes, and they're also part of information. And some of them, just one particular symbol, for example, I was told can contain enough information to fill a room with encyclopedias, literally that much information. So why are we having those happen now? And I believe it's preparing us. It's like the new software for the upgraded human.
Yeah.
We're going to need new software to operate as we become more multidimensional. We're going to need new parameters. We're going to need to, how do we manage this so we don't go crazy? So I think that part of it's the software, but some of it also is more knowledge that's activating in our DNA. Because if 1 gram of DNA can contain enough information of all the information on the internet, what else is being held in our dormant DNA that's waiting for activation?
Yeah, definitely. Now, let me ask you this. What's your view on a lot of people say that these ET or some of these ETs actually walk among us, and you can't really differentiate them from just the average human being? How do you feel about that? What is your view on that?
I think without question, it's been happening all through history, that they've kept an eye on us. And one of the best ways, many of them look human. So you literally wouldn't know the difference between them. They come here, they monitor us, they watch us, they see what's going on and what have you. I think it's logical that they would be doing that. But not only that, some of the people believe that have had experiences that they come from those star systems and they've just incarnated into human form, but they actually belong to their star origins. They've come down in a human form to, I remember one wonderful lady in her early 60s coming to me, beautiful, gentle soul. And she said to me, I walked into my body at 3 years old. Previous to that, I was on a craft. I was 9 foot tall, blonde hair, blue eyes. We were telepathic. I didn't need to eat. And all of a sudden I'm in this 3-year-old human body, and I have to learn how to talk, and I have to learn how to eat. She said, what did she call herself? I'm just trying to think now of the name she said. But she said she goes and she explains to her star family what, like every so many weeks, what she's finding out about being human. She's I can't think of the name that she used. Undercover agent, she said. It was like, I'm an undercover agent. And she said, and she's in her 60s. And she said, I've not met many like me. I did meet one in China. And when we looked at one another, we knew we were the same. So there's those that come in like that, like a walk-in, that a walk-in soul into a human body, a human avatar, and they go back and they download what they've learned about humans to the other star beings that are part of different federations or galactic communities. So there's a lot of monitoring going on from multiple levels, both from in our human container, our human avatar, right through to others coming from all over different parts of the galaxies.
All right, now let me ask you this. So Westall 66, right? Westall, the UFO sighting from 1966 in Australia, for me, is one of the top, hands down, this is real UFO sightings right there with Ariel School.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel about that? And then, what may be some other notable cases in Australia that we may not be aware of back here in the States, based on your research? And then, also, what is the outlook and perspective of the people of Australia? Are they turning the corner on this? And kind of what's the conversation out there?
Well, the Westall 66 is profound because everything was so obviously covered up. 1 minute everything's being filmed and whatever, and they can't find the files, the films or interviews or anything, and it's been covered up all these years and what have you. There's so many schools, interestingly, across the globe that have been targeted at some point or another. One in the Solomon Isles, where the Father Gill and the children in the Solomon Islands saw craft, and of course the one in Zimbabwe is a very well-known one as well, where these children saw the craft and saw the beings and what have you. So they visited schools in a number of places. I know there's been some in the US as well. So it's probably one of the better known and what have you. There are lots and lots of wonderful cases here in Australia, not so well known as they are obviously over in America. I'm just trying to think of anything that's, well, it's hard to pick one out and say, well, that's better than that one, because all I can say is that not only, and often it's in rural Australia, where there's been some striking craft landing and people going on the craft and being quite conscious of having those experiences and seeing this craft coming year in, year out and what have you. I mean, I'm getting hundreds and hundreds of stories from all over the place, even locally. And we have also the Yowies, which are also coming to the fore a lot more, which is Bigfoot, Sasquatch in your country and whatever as well. Even where I'm living in Deepwater, people have seen the Yowies and what have you. So there's all of that going on. All I can say is what's happening in America is happening in Australia. There are places where people are more accepting of it than others. There are certain parts of Australia that are a little bit more open to this than others. But at the end of the day, all I can say, Rob, is that it's everywhere.
Yeah,
it's everywhere, even if you don't hear it, including crop circles, by the way, because I did the crop circles and contact in 2006 down the west coast of Australia, and we found evidence of at least 150 instances of crop circles. The farmers don't talk about it; they just keep quiet and whatever. So you've got all of that going on. Of course, so many people don't talk about it. They don't want to be laughed at or ridiculed.
Yeah, and I'm a crop circle. I'm, obviously they try to write it off as just hoaxers, but I'm really under the impression that it's some sort of communication system. It would appear to be. You go back and you look at like something like the Nazca lines, and that's us creating these large pictograms on the ground that are only visible from the sky. So it would seem, if you looked at those two things, just being logical, it would appear that would be back and forth communication. I mean, it's what else could it be?
Yeah.
So, what as far, I don't know if you get into CE5 or anything like that, but like Brian Bowden, who will be on in hour 3, he's able to call these things in, and it seems like he says, without fail. What do you think? I mean, obviously, there's the consciousness connection there. Do you think because I want at some point this year, I want to try to gather the top CE5 specialists together, because I believe if this is a thing that can consistently be done, then that would be a excellent way to bring in disclosure for the broader public. Do you think that could be a thing? And what do you think about CE5?
I think it's an excellent way of working with a number of people that have the same intent and consciousness to actually call in a lot of the craft and what have you. And it works really, really well. I mean, they do it at James Gilliland's around in ESETI. You've got Stephen Greer, who does his own protocols. And people are doing it all over the world. And they're seeing that's one way to actually communicate with them. But actually, you can sit in your own garden and go into a particular space, and you can actually connect as well. So, you know, if you want to do it, it's quite powerful to be joined with other people and to all have the same intent. I've attended many of them, and they're always wonderful. And you do get a chance to meet others, and some amazing things can happen. I actually did a meditation when I went to Tepoztlan, where Carlos Diaz saw the light ships, and we did a meditation in the field where he'd seen the light ships and what have you. And I didn't realize at the time that we had someone filming it. There was only about 5 or 6 of us. And I remember getting cross because I felt this light coming right down the center. And I remember thinking, it's the cameraman. He's being a bit too enthusiastic, and he's the light's getting in my eyes and what have you. And I was really quite cross about it. And when we came out of the meditation, he was at the other end of the field, and he was terrified because he said, you were surrounded by a fog. And he said, and I didn't want to go anywhere near it. So whatever that light was, 3 of us in the group, only 3 of us in the group actually saw the light. And it was really bright. It was like, it hurt my eyes. And I just thought it was the cameraman until afterwards. He was terrified. He was at the end of the field saying, I didn't want to, I got right away. And he said, we were surrounded by a fog. And all we'd done was a very simple meditation, you know. And so lots of interesting things can happen.
Yeah, I definitely want to try to do that this year. Well, Mary, we are at the end of the hour. I hate that we are, because I would love to speak to you more. And maybe we can set something up again in the future to do this. You were great. Your frequency is I'm feeling your frequency. Once again, I do appreciate you being a proactive person that's actually doing something to try to spread the awareness and trying to move the needle, because the awakening part of this is really the most important piece. And I'm just glad that, you know, I'm able to meet another person that is out there doing that. So continue doing that. And do you have anything for the audience? Like, where can they find you, and anything you may want to promote?
All I can say is that if you want anything to do with me, just Google me. You'll see me on Facebook. You'll see that I've got the website, acern.com.au or whatever. And you're welcome to email me or message me as well. All of that's very easy to connect to. And if you're having encounters and you've got no one to support you, I have written a book that will help you through that. And if you've got children that are having experiences, then there's information on that as well. But I've got on my website, I've got a questionnaire. So if you want to find out whether or not it's connected to you in some way, or this is connected to you and you're not sure, the questionnaire will help you join the dots.
All right, awesome. And on your website, is that where they can get the books as well?
Yeah, they can order them through all the main distributors. If you're in Australia, you can get it direct from me, and I'll sign it for you as well.
All right, awesome. I'm gonna have to do that. I'll get one. I'm gonna have to send it off to you. I definitely want to stay in touch with you, Mary. So I will definitely message you, and I would love to have you back on. You're a very important part of this conversation, and I just want to, I always feel good coming across like-minded people who have humanity, who have invested time into making sure humanity gets what it needs to ascend and be enlightened. So I really do appreciate the work you're doing. I know the audience does as well. So what I'll do is I'll send you a note sometime soon, Mary. Definitely want to thank you for coming by and giving us your time.
Rob, it's a pleasure. And thank you for all your time for helping people to share this information. And it's through you that we do it. So thank you so much for all that you do as well.
All right, appreciate that. We'll talk soon, Mary. You have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. Thanks.
Bye.
All right, guys. So we have Mary Rodwell in the building talking really good stuff and really trying to move the needle. These are the conversations that we have to have. You know, on our path to get to this disclosure, this confirmation, these are the conversations that we have to have. People that are moving the needle out there. You know, right now, I'm on the hosting side of this, but I want to get into getting out there and making these things happen, right? So the CE5 thing that I was talking about, I want to go through with that. I want to get that done because I want to do my part to try to help enlighten the rest of the world. And I hope that inspires a lot of you out there to do the same. We all have the same goal. We all have something to offer to this conversation. It takes all of us to have this conversation. And, I just hope these conversations that we end up having here on After Hours, we have had a lot of great ones up until this point. We will continue to do exactly that. So, yeah, man, really another great interview. And I really appreciate Mary's time tonight. So, with that being said, I really hope you enjoying the show so far. We're going to go ahead and pause for the cause again so we can go ahead and get into our hour number 3, where we will be talking to Sir Brian Bowden and getting into some stuff. Real talk all the time, always. Let's move the needles, guys, and I'll be right back. So you guys sit tight and listen to this great music. Be right back. All right. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour number 3. Tres, with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. Awesome guest. So, first of all, before we jump into what we're doing here, I just want to go ahead and talk to the space travelers for a minute here. You're already space travelers. Consider taking the next step and joining the club. That's right. You can join our SOR Space Travelers Club by going right on over to the Patreon. You can do it for as little as $5 per month. We really appreciate your support of Spaced Out Radio. Also want to thank CS for the wonderful super chat. And I know Aloha Dave has come through as well. Appreciate you, Aloha Dave. And I heard it's your birthday coming up, so happy birthday to you. You know what? Let's go ahead and happy birthday to you and anyone else out there whose birthday it might be. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Aloha Dave. Happy birthday to you. Right here from Mr. Rob G. Here at Spaced Out Radio, SOR. Another thing, we have Reno coming up, right? The Reno trip, May 10th, May 12th through 14th, right? Let me go ahead. I'm getting the dates all messed up here. May 10th through 12th, 2024, Reno, Nevada, Silver Legacy Casino and Resort. Make sure you go ahead and get your tickets, info at spacedoutradio.com. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and bring in our guy. Our guy is back on the scene, back in the building, Sir Brian Bowden. We're going to go ahead and bring him in right now. And Mr. Sir Brian Bowden, how are you today?
Well, I'm good. I'm hanging in there. Tired, but good.
All right, man. Glad to have you back, man.
Yeah, no, I you know what? Life gets crazy and things happen and surgeries happen and all this other stuff. And so I just came back from what we like to call the Boogie Down Bronx, born and raised, and just saved myself a lot of money by going to New York to get some dental work.
Nice.
Yeah, they're crazy down here. But something is, first of all, Mary Rodwell is in my top 10, pretty much top 5 of UFO researchers and investigators of this form. You need to be paying attention to it. Yes. And it's Mary, Grant Cameron, Tom Conwell out of New York State, very important. You got Paul Sinclair out of the UK.
Let me write that down. Go ahead, give me those names.
Okay, so there's Derek Tyler, Paul Sinclair, Mary Rodwell, Tom Conwell, Grant Cameron. And last but not least is the host with the most in Space Out Radio Zone, Dave Scott. These people are really at the forefront. I do a lot of research, but I really do have a lot of respect for them. They do things that most people don't, and they keep doing it. And there's no BS. You know, they'll bring you as much news as possible and try a variety of techniques. Mary's just incredible what she does with the kids. The light language, it's mind blowing. Love to talk to her. It's a big difference between Australia and here.
Definitely.
You know, so you know, there's some interviews I've done where, you know, you get people in the UK or in Europe, and it's like, it's kind of tough. It's tougher when you have to talk to people around the world, on the other end of the world. Yeah. So kudos to you for getting her on. She's awesome.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, actually, something interesting when I was driving up to New York last week, it was Wednesday. I was thank God for my friend from Canada. And we're chatting on the phone, and I got into Georgia, roughly about Jekyll Island area off of 95. And I noticed the 11 o'clock position. There is one of these. I'm not going to say it's on fire, but it's an orangey red type of craft. It's weird, and the way it looks in the lighting, it looks a little bit more spiky in certain spots, and it's there, and then it fades out, and it's there, then it fades out. And I'm like, I'm watching this, and it's not a tower, a radio tower. I know what they are. They hardly even use them anymore. And as it's fading back in, there's now two of them. And this one's on, you know, to the right of it. You'll probably see it to the left of it, and they're there, and then they fade out. There, and they fade out. Fades out again, and it comes back up. And now there's one on the left side, and it's fading. And I'm telling this to my friend. I'm like, oh my God, this is what's going on. Fades out a third time, and in between the two on the left, there's another craft. Another one appears, and then it starts doing the back and forth between the two lights.
Wow.
Now, that's probably the fourth sighting I've had in under 2 months. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And I could have sworn I had this damn thing dead to rights. I use a car cam, dashboard camera.
Yeah.
The thing recycles after 5 minutes.
Oh.
So I got back, and I'm like, oh, I got this. No problem. Whatever. Boom, boom, got it. Go back in. I brought my laptop, put it in there. I'm like, oh, God, I'm going to kill somebody. It recycles after. So now I have to figure out to get a better camera that I could run. It's a long drive. I drove. I didn't fly over. It's like, why aren't you flying? And that's a totally different type of show, but I know people in different places and been warned not to fly this winter. Actually, it's for everybody. Commercial flights are going to be bad. We've seen that, right? So,
you mean bad just booking wise or
dangerous?
Oh, okay.
Accidents, dangerous.
Okay.
Yep. So,
is it UAP related or
no? It's just I don't know if it's neglect or negligence or whatever, but these are people that are a lot more in the know in certain aspects of stuff, and they're friends, and they don't fly. If you don't have to fly, don't fly. So trains are fine. Trains are fine. But I mean, we're seeing it with, you know, part of the craft breaking apart, coming apart in mid-flight, rivets, you know. Just if you don't have to fly this winter, don't fly this winter.
Sounds good to me.
If I get a reading or a hit on something, this is not me doing that. This is third parties, very in the know. And but if I get a hit, and I'll throw it out there, and if you don't want to listen, don't listen. I used to get really frustrated when I'm getting a warning or whatever, and a warning is a general warning for everybody. If I'm putting it out there, be careful with X, Y, and Z. And people like there was things with Tylenol coming out where you got to go get it. It's like a supply issue. And people are like, well, I wouldn't put that stuff in my kids. I'm like, okay, I don't care. You know what? You don't want to do it. That's fine. I warned about a train accident. Got that like just as I was getting up in the morning. And I posted, I said, there's going to be a major train accident in the next 24 hours. I saw it. And within under 12, there was an accident, major train accident. So when I post things, you want to heed them, do it. I'm still working on lottery numbers, folks, but apparently I can't get them.
Yeah, when you get those, share with your boy.
I'll share. I have no problem with it. But I just thought it was pretty cool that these craft are, they're really prominent now, super prominent now, and it's just, I'm trying to figure out what the heck's going on, because usually when you see throughout history, when you're looking at these UFOs, right, and I call them the constellation UFOs, you'll see them during the day. There'll be a series of little white dots. It looks like a constellation of the stars. Those usually come out or appear pre some kind of disaster, right? I mean, it's throughout history. It's always near a volcano or something's happening near a certain area, and then the next thing you know, you have a natural disaster.
Right.
So the way the universe works is past, present, and future is fluid all the time. And when you pass from this life into the next, you see past, present, and future, but you're bound by certain, call it laws or whatever the universal, actions are. Some people, you're not supposed to mess with it. I've gotten readings from, I've actually heard this from someone who's passed. I'm like, why can't you help? We're not allowed to help. And there's a lot of people that pass on and they're bound by that. Like, we can't do anything. We're not allowed to help. And in my, like for me, the day I go and I have kids, I don't give a damn what the rule is.
I like that.
Oops, I stay up here a little bit longer. Big deal. I'm going to help. So there's a lot of weird things going on. I don't know. I wish I was there for the full hour. 2 hours, actually. There's a lot of people that missed it. So you're getting their Super Bowl party on right now. Pre-Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. And matter of fact, that's what I'll be doing tomorrow. So I've set a special show tomorrow that I've already recorded and uploaded. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So I'll be out of town. I'm in close to LA now, but I'll be up in Sacramento chilling with my mother because they are all 49er fans, man. And I'm the only one. I'm like the black sheep, so I'm the Dallas Cowboy fan out of the family. They're all 49ers. Wow. So I'm going specifically, and I'm bringing a sponge. So when they lose, I could suck up their tears and make a drink with it. I'm gonna drink their tears,
unicorn tears,
and watch them win. Watch them win. I'm saying all this. Watch them win.
Asmoff, how did I know about the train? I get these their visions. I'm a remote viewer. I always said I'm a remote viewer, and I do a lot of remote viewing. But the psychic from our group, who's my Yoda for the most part, who worked with me on certain things, because I knew there was something there, but I'm not like everybody else. Oh, everybody has the ability to be a psychic. We'll just throw that out at you.
Yeah,
it's a God-given ability. Some people use it, some people don't. The best way to get to using your abilities, the first and foremost ability is the empath ability. Suck up the tears, make Gatorade. Everybody's an empath. Most people are. When you get that gut feeling or you feel like weird when you walk into a room, that's being an empath. You're picking up on that stuff. But as you work a muscle, it gets stronger and then it begets more muscles. So the psychic for our group is from Arkansas. When I used to do stuff with the Bronxville Paranormal Society, and she's like, "You're psychic like me," and I'm like, "Nope, I'm a remote viewer." I didn't want to come off like a Miss Cleo, but I am. I have a lot of abilities to do that. I do readings for people. A lot of people, I don't charge people 99% of the time. Some other people want to pay me, I'm going to take it. And it just comes. And they're sometimes now they're coming quicker and during the day. And a lot of times also when you go to sleep and you're at rest, that means you're conscious and everything is resting. There's nothing interfering you like, Space Out Radio After Hours or Mary Rodwell or Master Rob G. That's when you connect to the higher source. Okay. You call it source. I call it heaven, whatever you want to call it. And what happens is you go through something. There are dreams. And a dream is like, I think you were there, maybe Dave Scott, and we were like kind of riding Harleys or they look like Harley. You're unsure. There's certain things that happen. You're like, something that's a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have something called experiences. And experiences are real. They are legit. And you go in and you're experiencing, you were there, you were in a 3-piece suit with pinstriping and you know all the details of it. And 99% of the time when you're having an experience, that could be a download, that could be your consciousness connecting to, call it the Akash record source, whatever, and you're going through these events. It could be, a prediction for something future. It could be something coming up. It could be a learning session. But 99.9% of the time, you will wake up exhausted, like you've been up all night because you've been up all night. That's what's happening.
Yeah, that's kind of what Mary was alluding to as well. And I believe that makes total sense.
It's interesting. A lot of time, I don't know why or what's the purpose of me getting that moment about the train. Or I can give you another example. I have a brother in a fraternity, and I've never met his sons or his daughter-in-law. Not at all. I woke up and I was in Connecticut near where this guy's store is, his son's store is. I walked in, I saw this young woman there, brownish hair, kind of curly, parted. The son was elsewhere, looked like he was in a higher position. I said, "How's he doing?" They said, "He's really good now. He's going to be fine." I said, "Okay," because I was worried. And I knew he had a heart attack. So they said, no, he was fine. We got to the doctor. Everything's fine. So I said, okay, great. When I woke up, I contacted him. I said, "You're going to the meeting?" He's like, "Yep, I'll be there." I was like, "I got to talk to you." And I talked to him and I told him exactly what it was. I said, "I need you to go to the doctor. I need you to go get your chart checked out. Can you go Monday, please?" And he said, "Why?" I said, "Well, I had this experience. I get these." And I told him, and I described he goes, "Well, what did the girl look like?" And I described the girl and I described his son. He goes, "You just described my daughter-in-law." I said, "Well, I'm telling you, please humor me. Go to the doctor. What is this going to cost you? Doctor's visit, right?" So he's retired. Actually, this gentleman is responsible for these being in the country that I'm talking about. So thank you. So he, as a retiree, to get rid of, do something, he does a school crossings. Okay. He was at the school crossing. One of the cars blew the stop sign and almost had a kid. He ran, grabbed the kid, and pulled him to safety. He almost got both of them killed. He went home to his wife. He goes, "I don't feel well. Take me to the hospital," because he remembered what I said to him. He gets to the hospital and the doctor goes, "You came here in the right time. You blew a stent in your heart." So someone who, he was very kind and courteous about, because when you get these things, you're like, yeah, okay. Thanks, Miss Cleo, whatever. But he was very kind to listen, and he never doubts me ever whatsoever. And I do this all the time. All the time. And most people don't believe it. No, it's you know what? Again, everybody can do it. So when you have that moment, when Sometimes you think you're daydreaming, but you're not daydreaming. You're actually getting downloads. This is also part of, when you get into this UFO stuff. A lot of times people are getting these visions or they're getting these thoughts popping in and they don't know where they're coming from and they think it's psychic based or whatever. Or sometimes people think, oh, wow, I'm going crazy, right? And they're not going crazy. They're getting downloads or they're downloaded. There's a guy who's actually in prison now because he couldn't shut his mouth and he was starting with the government. Stan Romanek. They got him, and the way they get rid of you is they get you on pornography charges, usually child porn. And he wasn't into child porn. He was sick and tired of being abducted repeatedly. His place, ransacked by the U.S. government, and they told him stop doing it, stop talking about it, stop what he didn't do it. Gave him the finger, and they downloaded some stuff to his computer and they arrested him. But Stan used to get these visions. He would write down these equations. He'd come up and with these engines and these systems and star systems and star charts. I mean, he basically discovered element 115 about a decade prior to the scientists discovering it because it was given to him. And through, hypnosis, he knows that he would stand it, that they would bring him into a room. There would be a screen right in front of him and it would just start flashing stuff. It would go slow. And then it would start flashing really, really quick.
Yeah.
And it's a technique that the Air Force still uses. They want you to memorize something. They'll stick you in a room and they'll start projecting things. And the faster you do it, believe it or not, if it's one at a time, you can just start speeding through stuff and you retain it all. It just goes right in your brain, stays there, and it's as if you learned it 15 years.
I've seen that on some movies, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. But I also heard about the, you talking about the CE5 stuff.
Yeah.
That I've been researching this stuff for 40 plus years, and I don't think there's anybody that researches it that doesn't go, oh my God, there's a UFO here. Even when you can do certain things to bring them in, I'm brutally honest, it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
But it works. And my first major CE5 event, I don't like to call it CE5s because there's a guy named Greer that become a pain in the what.
Yeah. So what do you call it?
I changed it. Well, first of all, Hynek really came up with the CE protocols. So Greer is now making claims to these things. So he's not the one that did it. He doesn't. He's not the one that makes it. But what happens is, I go with an active, intelligent encounter, and it's all about intention. And your intention with everything in life is the most important thing, because that will dictate the outcome of the event. So if you go in and you're like, everybody's kung fu fighting, and you go in there and you do it, you know what the event's going to be. You have a bad attitude, that bad attitude breeds more negative type of attitude in space. And let me tell you, when you're not in a good place and someone says, dude, think positive, you just want to punch them in the face. It's hard to think positive when you keep getting knocked down, right? You have a bad, I just lost my job, my girl's this way, it just, but I don't want to be that person. Think positive. Yeah. Because the more positive you think, and you'll get those moments where someone they want to take a shot at you, whatever, and you'll get knocked down a little bit, but you'll get up quicker. The more you think positive, things will happen. It's I don't know if it's the law of attraction or one of my friends was talking like, are you manifesting? And I'm like, I don't manifest anything. I'm not a manifester. I don't fantasize about things. The only thing I fantasize is money with a lottery win. Because down by me over here in Florida, there's a Lamborghini dealer I pass all on a daily basis, and you bet I'll take one of those and in that color and that. That's the only fantasies I have. In all seriousness. So I don't manifest and I don't fantasize about anything, but it's all about intention. And we use active intelligence. I've came up with a few protocols for it. Your intention, you have to meditate. You really have to put your consciousness into it, and you send that out to the universe.
Right.
And when you send things like that out, they're listening because they're waiting for you to use your consciousness, your heart, your soul, your mind, and body to raise your vibration to a higher level.
Yeah.
That's why, they're abducting everybody. They're abducting a ton of people to do a breeding program to enhance their race or bring their race back to where it once was. But they also want you to develop, because right now the way we react is if there's a problem, when someone comes over, like, dude, I have a problem, bust out the shovel and the plastic bags, like, where are we going? I got friends like that. It's like, hey, I'm in trouble. Okay. And they arrive. I'm like, no, we don't need a shovel or plastic bags right now. Put the lie down right now. But when I did this, I did it in Pine Bush, New York, at the Pine Bush UFO Festival.
Mm-hmm.
And that day, I was there like 5:00 in the morning setting up. I did 3 half-an-hour presentations, 3 15-minute presentations, and then 3-hour presentations over the series of day. I was wiped out. Me and my partner, yeah. And I promised them we're going to do a CE5. So I was hoping we got to this one event where Mark D'Antonio was speaking, all these special guests were speaking. And I was like, me and my partner were like, dude, I'm done. I'm spent. And then when I got there, I'm waiting for the event to go over and just be over with. I was hoping no one was going to go to the CE5. This mother and daughter team showed up, like, while that was going on. Oh, we're here for the CE5. We thought it would be so cool. And I don't want to disappoint. So I said, we're doing it. I really wanted to drive home that night, but we did it. So we drove over to this field called Alice Court in Pine Bush. And when we got there, there must have been 80 people there, men, women, children, families. It was insane. There was a whole bunch of cars. People had their blankets out. It was a beautiful night. You could see the stars. You can see mountains in the distance about 20 miles out. We knew the air traffic was in a different direction further out. We knew which direction's going. So there's nothing over us. And we're on acres and acres of land. There's a little roadway next to this field. And it overlooks some woods to my left. And it overlooks an athletic field, like a baseball field. Mm-hmm. So it's their little park area, but it's so dark that you can use it for CE5 events.
Right. It
was like 1 or 2 houses off the road. I'm sure they were real thrilled we were there. So then, I'm getting interviewed at that point by German TV because they were doing a story on it, the whole day. And he was like, okay, we're done. Yeah, we're out of here. Well, I get a phone call. My buddy gets a phone call. He gets one from, this guy, Bill, for a different station. And I get Mark D'Antonio. Where are you guys? Oh, we're at Alice's Court. Okay, we're sending some guys over. So 40 more people show up. So we have about 120, 130 people there. So my buddy just came off of cancer, treatments. He's like, I'm wiped out. It's all you. It was going to be all me anyhow. He doesn't do it. He doesn't know what he's doing. And he doesn't have the positiveness into that program.
Right.
So I'm sitting there and I'm trying to guide people to relax and get them all this whole day, this whole UFO festival out of their minds. And we started doing it, and we started, send out to the universe. We want to have an experience with you, want to have contact with you. Can you please make your presence known? And just think about it. And we're doing this for about 5-10 minutes. And, my partner is pointing out, well, that's, what this is, Pleiades, and this is Orion. And, we're looking at different things in the sky. We're still sending out that vibration. And then I start hearing what sounds like hooting and hollering. And I never would have used that term unless I didn't, until I found this one guy I used to work with. We've known for years. He's an old timer. He's like, and anytime there's a ruckus, all those kids are hooting and hollering. That's what he would. But that's what it sounded like.
Right.
And if you're in that area, I'm like, if I grew up in Pine Bush, New York, on a Saturday night, I'd be drinking beers and doing the same things. But I was think there was going on in the field next to us. And I start to turn my head and go, did you? I was about to say, did you hear the hooting sound and howling? And this other guy comes out of the woods, and it was a hoot. It was an owl hoot. But they were also sounding like kids. I said, yeah, I was just about to say that there's hooting and hollering. And within a split second, the most ginormous craft ever appears above our heads, probably no more than 15 stories in the air. And it is gunmetal black. If you didn't see it, you would, if you weren't there watching it, you would never see it. The center piece of this craft was a giant dome, and it was an LED white light to it, a bright white light. It lit up the bottom where these people were sitting. You could see a hexagonal pattern where the piece was, pushed into the craft. You can just see gunmetal, and then it blends right into the night sky. So everybody is just going ballistic and in awe. Oh my God. So my buddy starts signaling it, with a light, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it signals back. So I say, thank you for making the appearance. We appreciate it. Can you go out to those mountains in the distance? And when you're there, make some maneuvers so we know that, what we're seeing is real. In a split second, boom, flies out to the mountains. It flares. It starts making 90-degree turns like in a split second, like super fast.
Wow.
Cross your view, 90-degree goes up, cross back. I mean, it was incredible. It comes back for a second. Everybody's in awe. And then it disappears. We're like, whoa. Can you come back one more time? Comes back again, signals us, and then it disappears for the night. And let me tell you something. This craft, the size of this craft, I kid you not, was you couldn't even have landed it where we were, and we were on multiple acres of land on this strip. Could not land it. It was ginormous.
What do people say? I mean, did anyone get a picture or video, or that should hit the news, something like that?
True to form, I was just being interviewed by German TV as a reporter out of New York. And had he stayed there 10 more minutes, 15, he would have had probably the best news story ever.
Yeah.
He would have had a craft come in. Now, I don't know, there's no videos that I know of, but I do know that the chief of police for the town was there, but he ain't talking. I've tried numerous times. I knew the town, I forgot her official title, but she was the one that gets the events, the coordinator for events and the town events, like, fireman's parade, whatever it is. And I said, I know the chief of police was there. I'd like to speak with him. Off the record, he won't speak. He saw it. He was there. Because after that was over and everybody went home, the next day my partner gets a phone call. What the hell happened up there? We are getting phone calls. They're off the charts. What did you guys do? We told her. We brought in a craft. So this then COVID happened a year later. But they still wanted to do something. So we did another event. And This time there were only 80 people there, so I do a presentation in the beginning. We had a couple other speakers come up, and it wasn't at the same area, but it was near it. It was like a pavilion near there. And I brought my daughter with me, and my daughter was taking pictures and stuff. So, you know, she was real like stoked to be there. She couldn't believe, like, holy crap, Dad's doing this. You know, it was a rock star in her eyes for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And when we're doing it, you can see on the peripheral there were two sets of UFOs coming up, and what started out as one dot became two, became three in one area, and then it would pulsate, you know, orb, and then it went to four dots and became a diamond, and then went back down. And we were trying to get them to come closer. There was one woman there that was being obnoxious. They weren't coming any closer.
Yeah.
Because the minute you don't take it serious, your vibration was like, goes down here.
Yeah.
I mean, she was really, really obnoxious. And there were people there that wanted to kill her. I'm like, that's above my pay grade, folks.
I hear a lot of people talk about that. Like, that really matters. Like, that low
it really
energy.
matters.
Yeah.
You can't be there, you know, come on, UFOs, and screaming and acting out like, you know, you're on an episode of The Sopranos. No. They're not going to do it. She thinks it's funny, but everybody else that paid the money to go to this event, because the town like put on this event to make whatever, everybody that paid money wanted to kill her.
Yeah.
Because we were so close and they weren't coming. You know, it's like, nah, I'm good. I'll stay over here. Had she not been there, we would have had multiple crafts come in, and we would have had it on film. We do have a little bits and pieces of film of these craft, and they are moving and pulsating. But it's not like the one I did a year earlier. That one was huge. And this is how it happens. You go out to the woods, you go on an expedition, right? You can go ghost hunting or cryptid hunting, or which I'm doing in a couple of weeks. I'm doing a Bigfoot expedition in Florida. Class A site, multiple Class A sightings. So hopefully I'll be back with some more goodies with you. But when you go there, 9 out of 10 times you're not going to get anything. You're not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they do on the TV. You're not going to get crap. But that one time you do get it, it's amazing. But sometimes, you know, when you've been out there the whole time, you have 9 hours worth of, you know, audio per camera and you got to go through it. You know, sometimes it's like, oh, nothing's happening. One time you don't turn your damn camera on, it's when it all happens. That's, you know, that's what it is.
Let's see, Melinda Leslie. So at the Reno event, she's doing the UFO Skywatch. I know me and you talked about hopefully the potential of you being there.
Yep.
And then we have Travis Moostus, Assault Rifle Omen, who's in the audience, I think, tonight, or Sunday guy. He's trying to be there, and you guys both specialize in that. And then I spoke, obviously, a few weeks ago to Deb Shakti, and she said she's going to be there. So I'm hoping I can get all of you guys together on that UFO Skywatch night and then try to do this. And then Tim Senor will be there, and he should have his camera, the production camera. So the stars are aligning potentially for something really special. So with that being said, I definitely want to tell everybody out there, you definitely got to be here, because you might witness something, hopefully, if it goes all well, historic on a level of something, an event, or that may be captured, hopefully on video, that will help bring disclosure in, and you guys could be there to witness it. So make sure you guys try as best as you can to come on out to this Reno event.
And Mary's right. You can do it by yourself. You can sit on your porch and do it, but I highly recommend you have more than one person with you.
Yeah, yeah.
for safety
And
reasons. Believe it or
and
not.
and the thing with the doing it yourself, and even you're doing it with the small group, it's satisfying for those who are there. But I think the idea is to show everybody else that this is something that is a real thing and that can be done. Because I think if you successfully pull that off, this is something you could show the world and
You,
at one time maybe make a huge step in trying to get everybody on board.
you know what would be great is if we can do like a CE5 across the world. Make it CE5 day. Close
That would be
encounter of the
awesome.
fifth kind, which is an active encounter, just in case didn't know what it was. And we have people, they have ghost hunting day where everybody goes out and they ghost hunt and they all broadcast. We should do a CE5 day.
Yeah,
And
that sounds
and
good.
then use that, and then someone be the central location. I'm in New York, I'm in Reno, I'm in LA, I'm
Someone's
in Mexico
across the
City,
world somewhere.
and
Yeah,
we're trying to
exactly.
bring these craft in, because I think if we all united like that, you might get a lot of craft in.
That energy, huh? Ooh, that might be something, and that's something that we should look at because, I've always felt like, okay, this is a real thing, this CE5 and being able to do this. So if that's the case, then this should be able to be pulled off. So exactly what you're talking about should be able to be done, and so hopefully, yeah, let's try to set something like that up.
That would be
I
great. And
what
yes, you could make it a 420-day brown dwarf.
yeah, yeah. Brown Dorp been throwing that out there. He's not too far from
Concentration may
me.
not be too good.
But you might open up your mind at the very least.
Yeah,
So with that being said, I want to show this, Brian.
sure.
I had this story set up and that I read over the week, and I want to bring this. Let me see.
Bring it up.
This was it's right here. Okay. So apparently, UFO reports over Canada spurred by multiple pilot sightings. So the pilots actually submitted some TikTok data on this. So I'm going to read
Right.
the story and then kind of show the TikTok videos. So let me see if I can.
Is this the
Okay.
light video? This is in Ottawa,
Oh, you saw this?
Canada.
Okay.
Yeah. This is a very interesting video.
So
This,
the
this
story
is really
goes.
interesting.
If I can get this to get out of full screen. See. Okay.
Did you
There we
see the
go.
video?
Yes, it's attached to here.
Okay.
So it says if you happen to be watching True Detective Night Country, then you'll know that when it gets dark and cold up north, people start seeing things that seem supernatural. Starting on January 19th, the Winnipeg, Canada region was inundated with UFO sightings, specifically from pilots flying into the early hours of the morning who reported seeing lights in the sky. In one night, three different pilots reported seeing lights flying erratically in triangle formations. Air traffic control confirmed that there were no unidentified aircraft in the area, at least not that they were aware of. As far as evidence goes, there are alleged audio recordings of the two conversations pilots had with air traffic control and a video of the supposed UFOs. So I'm going to go ahead and play
Play it.
the video. Let me see if I can get this. Hope it doesn't want me to sign in. Continue as a guest.
It makes life so difficult sometimes.
Did it stop? Hold on.
Nope. And it hasn't.
Winnipeg Center for Flare 600.
Go ahead.
Just curious, when it comes to those lights that you have multiple aircraft reporting, what report do you guys have to file for that?
Usually we just tell the shift manager and then they follow up with whatever reporting they do.
Okay, so you're not reporting a UFO then?
Report exactly what the pilot said to the shift manager and then they'll file it as they do.
Roger. Okay, thanks.
Definitely not satellites.
UPS 104. I just got here for the morning, so I'm just finding out about all the reports. But I guess they've been all the way across the prairies this morning or overnight.
Okay, yeah, it's like unlike anything I've ever seen in like the 15 years of night flying that I've done.
Okay, thanks very much.
Wow.
If you'd like, I could share this to you right now.
Yeah, what do you got?
Open with. Hold on. Let me open with QuickTime. Let's see if we get this. Okay. So this is the video. Let me just get to it. This is what they're talking about. This is Ontario, in near Ottawa. And I'm going to share it to you right now. Tell me when it's up. And let's see if watch the lighting in this thing.
Let me try to do this.
The fuck is that?
Oh, sorry, Dave. You see the lights? It's cutting across
yeah.
the sky.
I'm not the only one seeing this, I hope.
Yeah. That's not a laser. And then it bursts at the end. It's movement. Yeah. There's movement there.
That's crazy.
Yep.
And this is one of them. So I know there were multiple, right? So
yeah, I'm just going to take the volume off for whatever reason. But this has been going. There's a lot of sightings coming out of Canada lately. So I don't know if it's Spaced Out Radio's influence.
Definitely.
It'd be great if they started saying, like signed in the sky. Thanks, Dave. But yeah, it's pretty interesting.
And let me see. So I know I saw that one. I know that one was part of it. Let me see if I could find. There was another one.
Now the problem, I saw John over there talking about sonic booms. We are having a lot of military craft all over the place for multiple reasons that are current in news right now. That we're gonna not go into that, but this was a lot different than that. Looks like it was something moving from point A to point B, almost like I couldn't even tell you.
I'm going to show this one. This one was, I didn't get a chance to see this one, so we'll be looking at this one for the first time here right now. But let me get down. I think it's the third video down. Yes, it's this one. Apparently, this was taken.
I think this is, yeah, I posted something similar to this. Some of these are amazing. There's a lot of this stuff taking place. There are videos right now of 3 suns on the horizon. It looks like 3 suns.
An airline pilot took these photos while flight from the flight deck over Lake Winnipeg, which is in northern Manitoba, Canada. It wasn't on the TCAS or ATC, had no primary target, IIRC. Anyone know what that is? I mean,
it ain't Santa Claus.
Exactly.
I mean, you know what? Having sighting on the 10th, sighting on the 29th, sighting just recently. I mean, and there are more. There's other crap I've seen too. It's a standard. I think those are the ones that may have caused a missing time for me in 2 instances. Changes red, orange, green, blue, yellow, purple burst. Does it all the time. And it's not a star. It's not a nebula. It's not a constellation. It's not, galaxy. And then when you know something's going to happen, a lot of times they give you a high pitch, like you'll hear ringing in your ear. The first thing I do when I hear ring, I don't care if it's left or right ear, I just look up because I know, and I'll see it. I'll be like, you know what? Take some of this fat off my stomach.
Yeah, I'm looking for some of those healing energies too. So here's what we'll do, Brian, because we're going to go ahead and get ready to wrap it up, man. I appreciate you coming on out for us tonight, man. A lovely experience again. You made it an all-around great show today. So we will be talking again and hope to have you back next Saturday, and we'll get back
I'm
into
gonna
it.
try. I'm gonna try. I apologize. Things do happen. I have young kids and all stuff.
Yeah.
But everybody have a blessed week. And please do yourself something. Do a favor for yourself. Let's start thinking positive.
Yeah.
Try to do something, a random act of kindness for somebody. Just try it and keep trying it. And when you get to a store and someone has a name tag, say thank you, Fred, or whatever their name is. Thanks for the help.
With
Your life will get
positive energy. Put some positive energy out there in the universe this week, and we'll talk about it again next week. Brian, appreciate you coming in, man. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you during the week.
Gooby-doo.
All right, take care, man.
Bye.
Later. All right, guys. Yeah, right? Another awesome show, huh? Love it. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead real quick and run the Spaced Out Radio commercials real quick, like we always do. We do not have ugly swag, guys. So we're going to go ahead and jump into that if you don't mind. Here we go. Let's check it out.
And guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have Spaced Out Radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com. Shop there today. And make yourself look good. You love your woo. It's time to make a commitment to the 3rd annual SOR Fan Party. This time, we're heading to Reno, Nevada and the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort, May 10th through 12th, 2024. Tickets are $60 or $100 for VIP. With that, you get a free radio show. You get to hang out with celebrity guests from Spaced Out Radio, including our team, who are coming to hang out with you. You get to meet the entire team, like Science Bob, Merle, Melinda Leslie, Geraldina Roscoe, and more. It's a weekend packed with adventure, and we want you there. After all, we're doing this for you. Find out more and get your tickets at info@spacedoutradio.com and book your hotels today at the Silver Legacy Casino and Resort in Reno, Nevada. Come join us for the SOR Fan Party, May 10th through 12th, 2024.
All right, everybody. Great show again tonight. Man, love it, right? We moved the needle some more. I feel like we did. We had great conversations tonight. I do appreciate everybody coming on out. And yeah, so tomorrow, right, Super Bowl Sunday, may the best team win. You know who I'm rooting for, or at least hoping. You know who I hope loses tomorrow. We'll just say that. I have put together something special for tomorrow, something that's a little bit different. So we'll have a premiere. It won't be like the usual SOR archive, but it will be something special. I'll be sharing some things that I've specially set up for you guys. We'll be able to jump into what it is that we do. If you didn't know, I have a channel called The Social Dig, and we have really deep conversations over there. A lot of our viewers here have come over there, and they've done, we have a call-in show sometimes, and a lot of you have called in and talked about your experiences. Some of you have come on stage and talked about your experiences. Some have even come on camera and talked about their experiences. So a lot of cool stuff goes on over there. We're going to dip into some of that, but the show title tomorrow will be Aliens and UFOs, Why Are They Here? You'll get to see how we kind of do it, what the format is, and it'll be a fun experience. It'll be different than what we normally do here. So make sure you guys tune in. The live chat will be open for that show. So definitely come and hang out with your fellow chatters. I think it'll be an awesome experience. And like I said, just something different. And hopefully I made some predictions in that video that you'll see. So hopefully I end up being right on that. You know, like I said, I'm going to be with a bunch of 49er fans. So I'm really hoping that I can drink the tears of my family members, 49er fans, in the event that they lose. But either way it goes, may the best team win. I hope you guys have a great time. If you go into any of these Super Bowl parties, be careful out there, be safe. And just make sure you're here 8 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow. It will be going down here at after hours, so don't count that out. And once again, I think you guys will have a great experience. So I guess time will tell. We shall see. And with that being said, I want to go ahead and thank our super chatters for the night. We had Aloha Dave times 3, and I do appreciate you, your support of Space Out Radio, Aloha Dave, and once again, happy birthday. And CS, we do appreciate you, CS. So, with that being said, to all the space travelers, consider taking the next step and joining the club. That's right, you can join the SOR Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 per month by joining our Patreon. You can go right on over there and please support Spaced Out Radio. You know, we come and we try to bring it for you all the time, and we're going to continue to do it. We're going to continue to raise the bar for sure. As you see, we've been doing that and we will continue to do so. So with that being said, we do appreciate your support. To all our viewers and listeners across the globe, right? Across the globe. Thanks for tuning your frequency to Spaced Out Radio, where we do what we do best. And what is that, you ask? We own the night. Have a good rest of your day. Make sure you guys are here tomorrow and check it out and let me know what you think. And, you know, Dave Scott obviously is back here Monday through Friday. And then I will see you back live next weekend. You guys have a great rest of your night. Take care.